disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. Just, I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. You got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Well. Welcome everybody to the BDA Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. This is your good friend Mr. BDA, and I'm glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we got a fantastic one for you because we got a Saturday night of heavyweight explosions out there. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be covering some of the comings and goings in boxing, some of the rumors out there. We'll see what happens near the end of the year. There's some big fights that could take place by the end of 2023, and what a year it has been. Let me tell you something, man. Anything else would be icing on the cake. We're also going to be taking your phone calls near the end of the hour, so make sure to stay tuned in for that. Don't forget, you can check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, at your leisure. Don't forget, if you get a couple of shekels that you can send our way, you're certainly welcome to do so with the Super Chat feature. But it's always better if you join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. But the most important thing is that you continue to like, subscribe, spread that BDA gospel. There's a lot of uninitiated out there that are being led astray from the true path. Let's just put it that way. I want to give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm talking about Team Batman Boxing, Dark Hat Doe, Aaron Kuko, Anthony Lopez, J Colt, Super Sardonic, Elavo MPTCHC, Hippos Donut. All right. Who else here? Sam Rando, Earl Stevens, Team Batman Boxing, Andrea Shooter in the house. Shout out to Andrea Shooter. The Quags in there as well. Shout out to the Quags. Antonio Hernandez, Mueller's 27. The Gucci Berserk, Earl Stevens in the house. Shout out to him. Ratback Stocking Company in the house as well. Shout out to him. 10-4. Bentley Sports, J Colt, Pete G, Don Hello. How many more people to come? I'm sure. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Shout out to Fluffy Toasters 89, Ashley Schaefer. How many more people to come? All right, well, fellas, this Saturday, we've got a heavyweight bonanza, starting with a fight in Poland between Alexander Usyk, the undefeated Alexander Usyk, that is, two-division world champ. Some consider him the real heavyweight champion. And he's going to be taking on the imposing Daniel Dubois, 25 years of age. Good-looking record, relatively good-looking record of 19 wins, 18 knockouts, and only one loss. He stands at 6 feet 5 inches tall, probably about 240, 250 pounds. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens that night via Poland. Then on ESPN, we've got Jared Anderson making a bit of a quick rebound after his horrific, and I do mean horrible, showing against Charles Martin, and he's going to be taking on, Andrews is going to be taking on Andrei Rudenko. I got a lot to say about this fight, none of it good, by the way. Well, some of it good, why not? Efe Ajagba also on the card, taking on what could be a tough outing against Zhan, I don't even know how you pronounce his name, Kossobutsky, a southpaw who loves to go to the body. So that's what we got there. Nico Ali Walsh also on the card, if you care about that type of stuff. Abdullah Mason also on there. And then from Puerto Rico, you got Oscar Collazo, the youngest, I believe, title holder in all of boxing right now, taking on a fellow southpaw from the Philippines, Garen Diagan. That's going to be an interesting one. I see we've got, who do we got? We got Jimmy and we got Gonzalo jumping in here. Gonzalo with an ominous-looking avatar of a black wolf, or what appears to be a black wolf. Very, very scary right there, getting ready for Halloween. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Who wants to start? Let's start with Usyk Dubois. What do you guys expect in this outing?
I expect Dubois to blow Usyk's doors off. I think he's going to probably stop him in 4.
All right, Jimmy's been hitting the ganja a little bit, I guess. I mean, you never know, though. You never know, though, Jimmy, right? You never know a guy that big.
No, I mean, if Usyk didn't travel, if he didn't like train properly, if he's like this, I mean, he doesn't want. This isn't the fight he wants, especially at his age. He knows his dates, are coming, to an end, right? His fight career is coming to an end, and at this point, I'm sure he just wants to fight in the big ones, not just for money, but for cement whatever legacy he establishes for himself. And just Dubois, I mean, it's hard to get up on, right? It's hard to say, oh, this should be test. There's no way in God's green earth that if Usyk is on his game, whether he looks older or not, he's going to lose to this guy. But it's the theater of unexpected. I would imagine would be a colossal, and probably the biggest one of the year if he was to beat him. What do you say?
Well, I want to hear from Gonzalo. Gonzalo, you there?
Yeah, how's it going, Mr. BDA? How's it going, Jimmy?
Fantastic.
Yo, Gonzalo, what's up, bud?
I don't know. I'm thinking it's a little bit more difficult fight than what. I'm not gonna say most people. I don't know. I'm just assuming the older you get, the more you fight with that style, the easier people are reading on the way you fight. Not the easier. I mean, the blueprint starts going out there, like changing the angles, not necessarily a one punch type of knock you out style. So people are understanding how you fight, and you're getting older. This guy's younger, yet largely untested. Only lost one time in a fight that he was competitive in, but got his face caved in by a powerful a pounding punch. I think it was a jab, like the ramrod jab. That if his face would have not got broken, he would have continued. And I think it was like a back and forth type of fight. If it weren't for that, who knows who would have won? But I mean, he did get his face, his orbital bone broken, so he had to quit. Well, he didn't have to, but he did. But in this instance, if his face doesn't break, I mean, obviously he's not that type of puncher. The fight will continue, and it'll be competitive until it isn't. And I think it's just a tough fight. I'm not saying that Usyk loses. I think he wins, but it's going to go some rounds.
I can understand where Gonzalo's coming from, because obviously from a skill standpoint, Usyk is on another level than Dubois. I mean, that's a given. It's, if you've watched both guys and you follow their careers, you know that's how it is. I mean, Usyk, 2-division world champ, and now people are confident after he's gone 24 rounds against Joshua. People are confident that he can handle big heavyweights. That being said, Gonzalo hit on something there. Usyk style. Heavyweights, they tend to have a longer shelf life because of the size and because power is the last thing to go in the heavyweight division. So a lot of these guys are big, slow, lumbering heavyweights. So they can, whether they're old or not, it's that the speed differential isn't all that. But that's the thing, though. Usyk style is dependent on speed. He's a 6 feet, 3 inch tall fighter, a heavyweight, which nowadays isn't all that big. And he relies a lot on speed, frenetic activity, kinetic activity, non-stop movement, and precision and all that, skills, in other words. And the older he gets, the more that's going to affect him negatively. He's winding down the years now as a heavyweight. Now, if the preparation that he needs to undertake to fight these big guys, he makes it look easy. And if he makes it look easy against Dubois, you got to understand out there, fellas, that it's because he's riding at 120 miles per hour. To beat a guy this big, it's not easy. You got to be prepared. And so this type of preparations, like Gisela said, they can take something out of you, especially at his advanced age of 36. Now, on the flip side to that, if you're a fan of Dubois or if you're betting on Dubois, there's a lot of things riding against him. Number one, like Gonzalo pointed out, there's a little bit of a give in him. He quit against Joyce. Now, of course, the reports are that he had a broken orbital. That's understandable. But he's also been in danger in some other fights. I think it was his last fight. He got dropped 3 times. And then his handlers claimed, no, it's because he had a bum knee. He had a bum knee. Well, maybe he had a bum knee, but let's not mince words here. The guy he was fighting was a near bum. And he was a southpaw, just like Usyk. And he was having him in trouble, almost stopped him in that first round. So there's that. And then on top of that, and this is my main gripe with Dubois, and I'm going to give him props first. He actually moves pretty well for a guy his size. For a guy that's 6 feet 6 inches tall, he's actually got pretty good legs, pretty good feet, pretty quick with it when he puts his combos together. That's why a lot of people were comparing him to Anthony Joshua when he was on the come up and undefeated, because he actually looked pretty quick for a guy his size. And those power shots of his, they looked like they hurt. But here's my main gripe with him in this Usyk fight. His defense, he relies on those legs for defense. He's got no guard. He doesn't move the head either. That's a nightmare when you're fighting a sniper like Usyk. And as we've seen with Usyk against big heavyweights, whether it was in the WSB organization, when he was rattling Joey Joyce's head around and getting his attention, and same thing with what's his name? Fa, the guy from New Zealand, another big dude. We saw him actually stun Derek Chisora, who, okay, he might not be tall at 6 feet 1 inch tall, but he's about, 260 pounds, something like that? 250? And he was able to get his attention as well. And then we saw what happened with Joshua as well. So all of this combined to say that if Usyk starts teeing off on him, I wouldn't be surprised if Dubois actually says, you know what, I can't believe this smaller guy is doing this to me, and I didn't expect his shots to hurt that much. Oh, all of a sudden my knee hurts. Oh, I can't go on. That type of stuff. So there's a lot riding against Dubois despite his size advantage. We got Recognized jumping in. Yeah.
I think...
What's up,
well,
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
What's going on, Recognize? Maybe I have a delay. Were you talking? I'm sorry. Did I talk over you?
Yeah, you were talking over him, man. Big time.
How dare you talk over me, Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy.
No, I'm having a wicked. I'm having a hard time hearing you guys right now, so I'm trying to time it just right. No, listen. If I was Dubois, just for the things you guys said, I'd try to blast that kid out of there. I think he's shaky. I think
that's
like
the only thing Dubois should be trying to do. Dubois shouldn't be trying to box with him. He should be trying to knock him out. The problem with trying to knock out Usyk, and I've been saying this for a long time, and quite a few other people too. Some people in this channel as well. Is that he's got sneaky power. He's got really deceptive power. You can see it in the fights against Joshua. I think Joshua was a accumulation, especially in that first fight. In the last round, he had him ready to go almost. But he also, when he needed to, he can get Joshua's attention to the point where Joshua's like, "Wait a second, I gotta chill a little bit," which makes you a thinker, and you're not going to win that game against Usyk. The way I like to describe Usyk is he's a power boxer on the move. He's, especially when he's against guys his size, he's very dangerous, right? The way you beat him is the way you keep up with him is you got to throw a lot of punches if you can do it. Sort of like Manny Pacquiao when he had problems with guys like Marquez, to an extent Bradley, guys that just can match you. That doesn't mean you're going to win the fight. It's just you gotta offer something back. And I think with Usyk, if you look at the cruiserweight fight with Bradis, you would see that Bradis is like a counterpuncher, and he had good moments in that fight because of that. He was throwing a lot of punches and combinations. Not saying that he was landing all of them, but he was able to land some and win rounds in that fight. So Yeah, Usyk is a power boxer on the move. A lot of great footwork. He could get in and out. He has very good power when he needs to. So Dubois should be trying to go in there, not really box for him, trying to catch him with a big shot and get him out.
You know what, man? The only reason, well, not the only one, but one of the main reasons why I'm interested in this fight is because of the size disadvantage, or the size disparity. If Usyk was fighting a guy his size right now with Dubois' skills, I wouldn't be interested in that. I was like, what the fuck? I know Usyk is going to outbox him. So the size advantage from Dubois is really, and that's his ace in the game. Now, you mentioned that he has to go out there and bully him. I think you and Jimmy mentioned that. This is what actually Dubois is saying in the build-up to this fight. He's saying, or I think his handlers, I'm looking for the quote here. Definitely that's what they say, but it's by any means necessary, Dubois told secondsout.com. The amateur style, Usyk has got that footwork and all that. It's no secret. Go in there and make it a rough fight, he says. Go in there and bully him, and that's what I'm going to do. Hit anything on sight, he said. Hit arms, shoulders, head, and anything above the waist. I'm in fight mode. So there you guys have it. He's saying that. He knows what his advantages are, and there are few. So he's going to go out there and do that. Now, the problem is also with that is, and I want to get you guys' take on this, is couldn't it go both ways? In one way, maybe Dubois stays in the fight for as long as it goes because he believes that all he needs to land is one punch. Conversely, what if he goes in there thinking, this guy's not going to be able to hurt me. I'm going to be able to stay in there all 12 rounds at least. He's not going to stop me. And then all of a sudden he starts feeling the shots from a smaller guy. And then he says, fuck, I didn't expect this. Let me just go ahead and take a way out. What do you guys think? What's the more likely scenario here?
Well, I just got to say about the smaller guy thing, and we all say it about Usyk, because of the history of the heavyweights in the last, like, say, 2 decades, they've all been, more circus fucking people, getting 6'7" and shit, craziness. But 6'3", and now he's grown into that. He's been heavyweight now, 3 years? He's gone 24 rounds with Joshua, who hits harder than Dubois. He's a better boxer than Dubois, and he took big shots from Joshua. It wasn't like Joshua had no time laid gloves on him. I think, honestly, if I was Usyk, I'd put a stamp on this. It's kind of a tricky thing. Like, he goes on, takes him out quick. It's going to even prevent guys from want to step up with him even more, because I don't give a shit what anybody says. Fucking Fury ducked that fight. He wanted nothing to do with that shit. Straight up. I mean, come on. Yeah, listen, if he thinks this fight that's a whole separate thing, but against this MMA guy would sell as much as Ugas, he's crazy. Never mind that the Arabs were willing to throw up a lot more money for that fight because they know it's a real fight. So, he ducked that shit. And so if I was him, I'd go out there and I'd put a stamp on this thing. I would go out there and treat him with the same respect that I treated Joshua with. I'd go out there and fucking move him around. I'd control the pace. I'd stick him. I'd get him breathing heavy because the big guy, none of them moved that much. Right. And I would get him moving, using his legs for a few rounds, maybe by the 4th round. Minute I notice he's taking a few deep breaths, start ripping that midsection, and then try to take him out by the 7th. Because he fucking quit, like you said, no doubt he quit. Mind you, Inoue had a broken eye socket, I believe in the 4th round, broke his auricle bone, and he went the distance. There's many a fighters have broken auricle bones and gone the distance. So, he bailed. And if I was him, Usyk or his trainer, I'd be saying, dude, you got to hurt him. Make this dude take the will out of it, and then just start fucking hammering him with shots. The ref will either jump in or they'll throw the towel. You watch. I think he can stop him.
Yeah, like I said, and partly in a large part because he's got no guard. How the fuck are you going to be boxer with no guard? He thinks he's going to be able to control all these fights with just his range and his his That doesn't work when you're fighting a faster guy. Or maybe it will. I don't know. Like, for example, Gonzalo says Dubois has a chance. And I agree. I'm always giving the underdog a chance here. Now, this reminds me a little bit of when Chris Bird fought Jamil McCline. That fight, I believe, is on YouTube. The quality is not the best. I have a VHS copy, but the quality is not good either. And again, the size disparity here was bigger than Usyk versus Dubois. But Jamil McCline, who was usually a passive boxer, essentially changed his tune in this one and said, you know what, I'm going to jump on Chris Bird. Now, to give you an indication of the size disparity, I might be getting it wrong here, but I think Chris Bird is about 6 feet 1 inch tall, whereas McCline was 6 feet 6 inches tall. And I think I'd weighed him by about 50 pounds on fight night. And he jumped on Bird and actually mollywopped him across the ring and dropped him hard. And you thought, okay, this ain't going 12 rounds. McCline's actually going to pull it off because Bird was a champ at the time, the title holder. And then what happened? Chris Bird, he got his timing down. McCline started getting tired. Bird started landing shots, and he went on to win the decision. He actually hurt McCline in there with one of his woodpecking type shots. So if Dubois can actually do what Bird did, what McCline did on that night, what actually sustain it, I can see where Gonzalo's coming from. The problem is, like we were talking about, Dubois' lack of defense, overall lack of skills compared to Usyk. And I'm not saying he's a horrible technical fighter, but when you're fighting Usyk, you better mind your P's and Q's. And then on top of that, the heart. Does he have the heart to take those type of shots? Because again, he's going in there probably thinking, those shots aren't going to hurt. Maybe he was sizing him up too during the press conference. Hey, he's not that short, but I'm still wider than him. And, I'm still look at the size of my shoulders, the width of my shoulders. What happens when he starts getting shots in there? And let's not forget, those shots rattle people up. Big heavyweights. So he's got to keep that in mind. We got a super.
Dubois will find out.
Yeah, I recognize. I was just thinking that sometimes, in the heavyweights, if you're a big dude, you could probably beat up the smaller dude in a lot of cases. Like, not saying that it always turns out like that, but let's say, you got a bigger and a smaller dude. The bigger dude beats up but when you got two dudes that are equally big, right around the same size, it's more competitive. It's more because there's less gaps in between the back and forth on the taller and the smaller. So you kind of like equal in size, or you're trading punches more. So whether one guy maybe has a clear advantage, but that you never know because you're going to catch punches on both sides. And I'm saying that the younger guy is also going to catch Usyk. It's not like the taller, larger, a little bit larger Joshua, who's robotic. When he's throwing the punches, there's more gaps. See, when the bot throws, he's going to catch Usyk, and Usyk's going to catch him. It's going to be more of a seesaw. And that's what I'm saying. He's going to sneak his punches in as well.
That's a good point, Gonzalo. And that's what I'm saying is if Usyk wins this, let's say Usyk wins this like most people expect him to, or we expect him to as well, and he makes it look easy. That's not because it is easy. That's just Usyk making it look easy. He's going to have to fire on all cylinders to do that. But Dubois got relatively quick hands for a guy his size. He still has heavy hands as well on top of that. So that's why I'm interested in this fight. Like I said, if they were the same size, the same weight and all that, I wouldn't really be looking forward to it this much. But the fact that Dubois got an arsenal on his side, it could get tricky in there for Usyk. It could.
It makes it intriguing, the size difference. Every fight he has at heavyweight is going to be intriguing because of the size difference, right?
Exactly.
Regardless of the names of the top elites, or just like these fringe kind of heavyweight contenders like a Dubois. So, the size would make a difference. The thing about Usyk, his tactic is to wear you out. I'll punch you, and if it wears you out, it wears you out. As long as he's winning the fight. I think we learned from the Joshua fight. You just can't like try to bully this guy a little too much, because he can catch you with a lot of sneaky shots that have a lot of power in it, and eventually can put you in a bad situation where you're getting stopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it could be.
Was Joshua favored in the first fight against Usyk?
Yes.
Do you remember? He was favored, wasn't he? Yeah, Usyk was the underdog.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were being sarcastic or not. You were there, Jimmy. Remember that whole saga where people were, well, not everybody, but some people were trolling us for picking Usyk? Like, you guys don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And most people were like, in that first fight, by the second one, a lot of people jumped bandwagon. But, because I remember that was another one of the fights that, this panel was going against the norm. Everybody was picking Joshua. Yeah, no, I think for the same reason. There's angles. These guys, big guys, aren't used to seeing angles, and that's going to be very difficult for Dubois because he got his face smashed in by Joe Joyce, Frankenstein, for Christ's sakes. The dude was like Frankenstein, and he couldn't escape his punches to the same eye over and over. Usyk could just dart to the side, pop with a jab, start like he's going to the, change levels, go look like he's going to fucking jab to the belly and snap it right up to his head and then just jump in with a combination. Get him leaning back. You get a big guy leaning back, and it's just, they got nowhere to go.
Exactly.
Just get him. I would try to move him to the ropes, get him leaning back, and then just fucking tee off on him. I bet you gets that dude out of there if he does that. Doesn't want to put himself in the fire, though, because to take that real estate, you run the risk to get some shots thrown back at you.
Exactly. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Jaden Anthony for his contribution with Super Chat. He didn't leave a message, but shout out to him for his contribution. And I want to say something about that too. Dubois, like I keep saying, that his chance and his ace in the hole is his size and his power. If Usyk takes that away, it's pretty much a wrap. And that being said, the other weakness from Dubois is partly one of the reasons why he's been sort of stagnating, despite the fact that his new trainer, Don Charles, now is, they're really adamant about how he's improving and how he's showing things now in training camp that we've never seen before. You guys are going to be surprised on fight night. Dubois has the level of competition really leaves much to be desired. I mean, he's fought the usual type of British tomato cans that prospects get matched up against over there. He's fought his share of Amero bumps too. And even those guys can still catch him with shots. I remember the Trevor Bryan fight. I think that was the guy's name. Some fat American no-hoper in there, undefeated record, but essentially an Amero bump. He's landing up jabs on Dubois. And Dubois, the way he reacts to those up jabs, he's like, oh shit, he's hitting me. He's like, he's not supposed to be hitting me. It's like, come on, man. It's imagine what's going to happen if he starts getting hit with those quick, sharp salvos and he starts getting shocked. I mean, he has to understand that Usyk can hurt him. But fuck it, your only chance is to go in there and essentially demolish this guy. Maybe he'll have some success on the outside. Maybe Usyk's not gonna, take many chances, and he's gonna look better than expected on the outside. But again, the odds are against Dubois. That being said, fellas, Dubois' trainers and handlers are saying that Dubois has an ace in the hole. Check this out. Don Charles, his trainer, is saying, we're fighting a man who is very good, but very beatable. I'm still finding things about this young man, talking about Dubois. He can have a rock. I didn't know that, he said. He was sparring Moses Aituma, a very highly rated fighter. They were having it off in sparring, and that's when I saw another side of Daniel Dubois that I didn't know. There is a dog in Daniel Dubois. And if he has to dog it, he can.
Done.
Then he said, when Moses came here, he brought the dog out of Daniel. The dog. I thought, oh my God, the dog. Me and my colleagues all looked at each other and we said, the dog. We see the dog. We didn't know he had that dog. The dog, my friends. So, I mean, that's a new dimension to this whole thing, fellas.
Yeah, you ever have to smack up a dog? You know what happens?
Wait a minute. Well, don't go back to the whole fucking dog thing. You had to bring back up the dog. We got to bring up the story about you and the dog. I'm just saying.
No, listen. You can have the dog in you, but the right man, the right trainer can smack that dog up and say, "Sit your ass down," and that's what happens. Hope I didn't get you in trouble by saying dog getting smacked up.
Hello?
I don't know. Something happened.
Oh.
I hope
you can hear me?
Oh.
No, I think Mr. BDA might have dropped. Yeah, no, I don't think saying the dog's going to get anybody in any kind of trouble. Yeah, I don't know if we're on or if you and I are in Never Never Land, but no, I agree. I just think Usyk, he's just, listen, at this point, man, you fight him like you're out of the don't carry him. Don't carry the fight unless you're looking to get some rounds. But that makes it for boring fighting, I don't know. Jared Anderson, I know Mr. BD will touch on this when he comes back on, man. Yeah, no, he needs redemption from that performance.
I didn't see
his stock fight. Yeah, jeez Christ.
He looked bad.
He just, yeah, man. He looked like he lost his fearlessness. It looked like the first time maybe he's ever been hurt. You know what I mean?
Oh no, you're right. I did. Well, I didn't see the
Yeah,
fight.
Charles Martin. Against Charles Martin, who, I mean, he is a god, a king on earth, like you said. He's a god amongst men. Charles Martin with his crown and shit, that dude cracks me up. But, yeah, no, Jared Anderson, man, I think it was the first time he actually must have been hurt. I just didn't like the way he reacted after he got hurt. So we'll see.
Jared, what is it? Jared Anderson, that guy. He's also pretty young too, right? How old is he?
Yeah, he's on the younger side. I think 26,
20?
maybe.
No.
Oh, is he 20, that young? Oh,
like
no kidding. Okay, so he's a lot younger than I thought. Oh, wow. So a kid, yeah.
Yeah, he has time. I'm not gonna. There's potential there. I see some potential there. The inexperience could hurt him if you make the wrong move. You put him in there with a guy who you think he can walk through, and then he ends up having a hiccup. You know what I'm saying? But I still like him. I like Jared Anderson.
Well,
something with him pulling his head straight back. Maybe, I don't know. He had a problem understanding the distance between him and his opponent's jab, because I think he was getting his head popped back. Because he was too close, and he was like leaning back, but he was too close to where he was still getting hit. So I don't know. It was one of those things.
I mean,
and it wasn't like a last-minute replacement either. Oh, well, Mr. BD, are you back?
Yeah, and by the way, fellas, do me a favor. If I ever drop off or anything, because my audio interface froze, keep checking the messages here on this Discord room that we're in. That way you'll know. Because I was saying, you guys take over. So, the Dubois thing. Okay, well, actually, what are we going to talk about here, Dubois? We know Usyk has to keep the momentum going. This is actually good, man, because he hasn't fought in over a year. And if he would have continued fighting, I think I would still have him number one pound for pound, because to me, what he did over against Joshua is slightly more impressive, or I think it was actually slightly better than what Inoue did to Fulton. Just slightly. And I'm not going to get into a big argument.
First fight, right, BDA? He beat the shit out of Anthony Joshua.
Right. And if he would have stayed active, the only reason why he goes down in pound for pound is because other people like Crawford and Inoue have been more active. But what he did against Joshua, against all odds, really, was quite impressive. And that's the type of fighter he is. But again, he's 36. Fury appears to be disinterested in that. And by the way, that's what Logan Paul brought up.
36 now, right, BDA? God damn, I didn't even realize. Yeah.
It's,
the thing about him that can see, 36 is when, that's the age when you start to slow down, and that's his game, speed. And not so much speed, but it's like timing and everything else. Well, but you know what? He has that so far over these big fighters that even his slowing down is still too much. It's like, if he is slowing down, right? It's still a lot to beat these bigger dudes, even at the age of 36, because his body moves much more of a younger man than them because of their size.
I noticed that. Jimmy, I noticed that the boy has like spring in his leg. He's a springy fighter. Like, man, this dude, he's got pretty good legs. I noticed that shit. He's springy.
Exactly, Gonzalo. That's
right. And what I was going to say, when it comes to the age, Mr. BDA, we're dealing with people look at it a lot different than even American fighters do. He's got Papacino training him over there. And I mean, this guy trained all back to Ukraine before it was obliterated. He was the strength and conditioning coach for the amateur Olympic team, and I think even the wrestlers too. So he knows all about physiology of men and their age. I'm sure he's doing all kinds of tests, like the windpipe test and shit, all kinds of stuff, just to see if his levels, his oxygen levels and his muscle response. He'll know when we have to now change things a little. You're not going to be able, because of this is what you can do, this is where you're going to tuck her out. They're training on that type of level too. So I'm sure he's not going to be like, I mean, in America, it's you fight your style until one night your legs go. right? You just train who you are. They look at it, so much more scientifically. And I'm sure if he is slowing down, Papacino knows it, and they're fixing the game plan, including, acclimating to that size. He's got the mass now. He's probably more used to it. Use your strength. We've seen him punch people hard. We know he can hit hard. We've seen him fucking have Joshua almost out in the first fight. So that's what I think he's going to have to stop being more of a heavyweight. He needs to stop handling himself as the little guy and just go out there and fucking knock dudes out.
There you go. I want to give a shout out to Jaden Anthony for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, Dubois might do what AJ should have done. Despite the Joyce fight, he might have that dog in him. Chisora has that dog and actually did okay. I mean, that's the thing, though. It's Chisora fights low because he's a shorter guy than most of these guys. So he actually gets low and starts coming forward, winging overhand shots. That's not what Dubois and Joshua do because they're taller than Usyk. That's number one. So they actually have to get lower to get to him, especially to the body. And they really don't want to do that because they get hit with shots. So, but I mean, it's the only really, he's not going to outbox Usyk. I'd be very surprised if he did so. So, like we're saying here, and like he himself has addressed, he says his plan is to use his physicality to win the fight. Shout out to the Can Man for his contribution as well with the Super Chat. He says Dubois is the 600 underdog. He says underdog. Dubois in 6 rounds. Whoa! The Can Mans might be placing a wager on that. I mean, look, Joshua actually had some success. You know when Joshua had the best success in those Usyk fights? When he hurt him to the body. Even Usyk admitted in the first fight. I don't know what he said about the second fight, but he didn't need to say anything. We saw the results. In the first fight, I think it was in the 6th or 7th round, he caught some body shots and he started moving around that ring like he didn't want to get close to Joshua again. And in the second one, he was covering up, looking at the referee, going, hey, he's hitting me low, he's hitting me low. You rarely see Usyk do that type of stuff. And again, he was fighting a guy that outweighed him by about 20 pounds, 30 pounds, who can crack and who was dialing in at that body. So Dubois should borrow some of that. And he thinks that he might be able to pull that off. Easier said than done, because when you start going down against a guy like Usyk, and then all of a sudden he's hitting you with lightning quick shots, and they hurt and they sting, all of a sudden that can deter a guy from letting those hands go. So we shall see what happens there with that one. What else was I going to say about that? Oh, yeah. So, okay. So we got the dogometer here. I had to pull it off, dust it off for this one. By the way, we're going to be opening up the phone lines soon. So here we go. Dubois. Look, Usyk, we know he's got that dog. I've noticed that a lot of people nowadays, they say dog. A lot of the Americans, when they say he's got that dog, they just mean this guy's willing to cheat. He's willing to be dirty in there. To me, the dog means you get hit with one shot and you come back with 3 of your own. You can actually, even when you're tired, you still find the wherewithal and the will to come back and throw combos. That's what Usyk has done in his career. He's always willing to go shift that extra gear when the first one ain't enough. Dubois, on the other hand, it's kind of hard to tell where he fits in the dogometer because he hasn't fought the most stellar opposition. And then when he did step up in opposition against Joyce, he got beaten up late in the fight, got that orbital broken, and he decided to call it quits. So where do you guys think he falls in the dogometer from the little we've seen of him?
Give him a 5.
5. Jimmy, Gonzalo, what do you guys think?
I mean, Jesus, it's just kind of hard to say because, like, what? You got your face broken. Do you stop and you live to fight another day? Or you continue and risk maybe getting a permanent injury? It's going to be hard to come back from. So, I mean, fuck, dude. It's like, I remember the Angulo fight versus Erislandi Lara when he had that hematoma. Sometimes you just can't go on, man. But I'm going to say he got dropped. You said 3 times in the last fight. He came back. He's still, 18 wins with 17 KOs. I'm going to give him a 7.
Oh, well, there you go. Gonzalo being generous right there. Jimmy, what do you think?
Well, I am very stringent on the dogometer. You know what I mean? I don't pass out my dogs very easily. You got to earn them fucking pups. And for that reason, I'm giving that boy, because he quit against Joshua. I mean, against that dude, he quit. And this is only up, when he was contender status, people talking about him getting his shot. That fight set him way back, like way back. And So yeah, I'm only giving my guy a fucking 4.5 dog.
Oh. All right, so listen, Gonzalo gave him a 7. I think Reckon I said 5, and then Jimmy said 4. So we'll round it out, try to average it out. We'll say 5.5 or whatever. We'll be generous with him.
5.
Hey, Jimmy, but he might be able to clean up his image and give a good performance. Kind of like, I know these are lighter weights, but
And he's young, right?
Israel El
He's young
Magnifico
enough.
Vasquez versus what's his name, BDA?
Rafael
Marquez's
Marquez.
brother, Rafael
Yeah.
Marquez.
Rafael
Where he got
Marquez.
fucked up in the
No,
first
no,
fight, but he
listen,
came back, and it was one of those things.
I hear you, but I'm very stingy with the dogs.
As well
I'm a
you should
dog
be, Jimmy.
eater.
As well you should
No,
be.
he could, right? He could come back from it all. Who knows? I don't know what his constitution. I just know that on that night it didn't do him too well.
Well, first of all, Jimmy, I dislike the fact, well, not dislike the fact, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some people out there taking umbrage with the fact that you, a white man, called Dubois a black Brit boy. I think some people are going to come at you hard on that one. But I will say this. All you have to do is say, and I've told you this before, when people start saying, oh, you got your white privilege, blah, blah, just say you're Italian. That disarms it right off the bat, because then they get confused. They go, well, wait a minute, I thought Italian was white and blah, blah, blah. And then you can chuckle your way out of that one.
And they don't know.
Exactly. No, but look, I understand where Gonzalo and I are trying to really give Dubois a little bit of the benefit here that, hey, maybe he can pull it off, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I'm looking at it
yin
from
and
the...
yang. You guys are giving him some good love, and I'm being the fucking douchebag today.
Well,
I'm
I wouldn't
coming
say
at him hard.
douchebag.
You guys are being generous.
No, but like I said, it makes sense because all things considered, if you actually have to make a pick, you go with Usyk because like everything I mentioned, Dubois, we don't know how his mentality is gonna hold up, his defense. I'm pretty sure they're working on that though. By the way, they if they know what they're doing, they're gonna say, okay, this guy's gonna be faster than us, so we really have to work on the defensive point of view here, especially coming inside against Usyk and trying to bully him. But it's a tall task, man. It's a tall order. And
I just kept thinking, BA, when you said the dog, that he said in an interview that if he needs to use headbutts, elbows, everything, fucking in the kitchen sink, he's gonna resort to that. So like, man, this is crazy. He's coming out for war.
Well, okay. If he does that, if he's been working on that, then maybe it turns out he's very good at being dirty and he can try to pull that off. But here's the other problem. I was rewatching the Joyce fight. By the way, that Joyce has a hell of a chin, man, because Dubois, one thing you can say about him is he can crack. And he was bouncing some shots off of Joyce. And Joyce just kept going. He did clinch at some points to try to hold Dubois off. But man, the fact that he could take those shots is incredible. Chin. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that Dubois had to have, if that was a fight where he should have been a little dirty. He should have, when he started getting tired, he should have pulled out some of those American slick style tactics and started, clinching and buying up time and stalling to try to make it to the 12th round. And he didn't know how to. That's a fight where he spent a lot of time bone to bone, chest to chest against Joyce, and he didn't show any of that. So if he wants to do that against Usyk and, be dirty, that's okay. But has he actually ever done it? And does he have the ability to do it when it matters the most in this one? That's a big question going in. Big question.
Didn't know what's his name, the big guy, Joyce. His chin finally gave out. Yeah, against the Chinaman, right? Zan, didn't he stop him?
Jimmy's going back to the 19th century here. The Chinaman, boy. Well, technically, Zhang stopped him, if you might recall, but he never put him on the ground. He did stun him though, which ain't easy to do against fucking Joyce. They call him the Juggernaut.
What did the ref stop the fight? I know he got stopped.
Yeah,
right?
they
recently Joyce.
They deliberated for fucking what seemed like hours before they finally pulled the plug because of the eye. That eye was all busted up. And so I believe that's, if I remember correctly, I think that's the reason why but it looked as if Joyce was coming on a little bit. It looked a little bit like that. We'll see in the rematch, by the way, fellas. In the rematch is taking place this year, if everything goes according to plan, and it's going to be taking place, just to remind people, September 23rd, a week before Canelo versus Charlo. So they're going to be rematching in a couple of weeks. But what was I going to say in regards to that?
He couldn't get away from that left jab. If he can find a way to not be so much of a sucker for that straight left, what was it? It was a jab, right? Yeah, he'll probably fare better.
Now, let me ask you this, guys. Usyk, and I've mentioned this before, that most heavyweights refrain from going to the body. Jimmy, I think you mentioned that a little bit about Usyk's stabbing left hands to the body. Would he be well served to go to the body against Dubois here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You've seen that. If you have a mover, if you got somebody with good legs, and especially now that, because I respect his opinion, if that's what Gonzalo just said, I just looked at a video and saw how springy his legs are. That's all I need to hear. So that's for that reason alone, absolutely. Sting him to the solar plex. Absolutely. Bang, bang. Him hitting that body, getting him, and then also does it not just slows the legs down, it brings the hands down. I mean, that's why Inoue was doing that against Fulton. He was punishing him. He was getting him to bring his hands down. I don't think he wanted to stop it that quick. He was just so anxious to jump in on him. But so same type of thing. Just stick that body. We saw Crawford do it a few times too against Spence. Some nice jabs right to his solar plex. It takes the wind out if you have a snap and jab. It really does. And if you catch somebody breathing right, if you catch them on and out, if they're breathing out, pop, try to get it in on them. Just really does take the legs down. So yes, 100%.
Well, there you guys have it. I mean, it would be an interesting fight for sure, if he takes it to the body. And again, those little shots, they might not seem like much, but they sting. But like I said, most heavyweights refrain from going to the body for some reason. Maybe they don't see that much of an effect because some of these heavyweights nowadays are so gigantic. So that's what's going on with Usyk Dubois. We'll see, man. Would be surprised if Dubois can make it a little bit more of a difficult outing because of his physical dimensions. But ultimately, if we're going to go ahead and pick, fellas, or make an official picks, I'm going with the Usyk I'm going to go with the safe pick, as I often do. Decision. I'm going to go with Usyk stoppage. And that's the one I'm going with. What about you, fellas?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Usyk as well. Decision in a tough contested fight until it isn't. I'll say Usyk unanimous, but close. Maybe, what is it? 9 rounds to 3. No, sorry. 7 rounds to 5.
Interesting. 7 rounds to 5. Jimmy, official prediction, police.
I would say I'm looking for Usyk. I mean, this isn't like a serious one because it's kind of a throw. But yeah, I'm looking for Usyk for the stoppage. I would not be surprised if he went to the decision, which would be for me disappointing because, like, what's the difference if you beat him like by decision, someone else beat, put your stamp on it. So yeah, I'm pulling for the stoppage, 8th round, fucking corner stoppage or referee stoppage.
Interesting.
8th and 9th.
Interesting.
8th and 9th referee stoppage. Yeah, jumps in, protects the lad.
I'm tempted to go with the same one, man. But you know me, I like to play it safe. Meanwhile, Jimmy likes to rock the boat. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen, man. And maybe Dubois, he'll come up with an excuse, like I said, like, oh, my knee, I couldn't, I wanted to stay in there, but my knee, and I was like, all right, just say you couldn't figure this guy out.
His face is allergic to leather.
There you go, man. Kevin from Chicago will be opening up the phone line soon, so stay tuned for that one, Kevin. And he says 8th round corner stop. What did he say? Corner stoppage. Corner stoppage. There you go. Now let's go to the ESPN card taking place later on Eastern time. You've got now, guys. I mean, Jared Anderson taking on Andrei Rudenko. Let me tell you a little bit about Rudenko if you are familiar with him. 6 feet 0 inches tall. He's about 6 feet tall, really. So not big at all for today's heavyweight division. He's 39 years of age. He's got a bunch of losses. Now, some of you might be saying, "Yeah, but BDA, fuck the record. What about his style and his abilities?" Go watch his fights on YouTube. They're up there. Slow, not particularly quick, not particularly a hard puncher. this is the quintessential stay busy, but more importantly, rebound fight for Jared Anderson. Because make no mistake about it, fellas, no matter how generous you want to be with Jared Anderson, no matter how you want to cut it and say, well, Charles Martin, he's a tricky southpaw, he's a veteran, he's got that dog. It's Charles Martin, chin up in the air. All he really has is a left hand, a sloppy one at that. And even then, Jared Anderson couldn't really figure him out. Did he win the fight?
Yeah, but
barely.
Martin walks the street. He walks the what did he say? I walk the streets of God.
I walk this earth like a god. Yeah.
Isn't that what he said?
Yeah. So listen, Anderson was supposed to fight, I believe, the guy that's going to be fighting on the undercard. That's Zhan Kossobutsky. I think that's how you pronounce his name, who's a southpaw. And I think Top Rank said, screw that, putting him in there against another southpaw who can crack. Let's put him in there against Rudenko. I am not interested in this fight at all, fellas. What do you think about this?
It's exactly what you said it is. It's a confidence booster. The fact that he's fighting just 30 days later tells you, it says everything. If that was a dominant win, like knocked out Martin in 4 rounds, stopped him, and Bobby was like, "Hey, yeah, go to Bora Bora, enjoy yourself, son." Like, you know what I mean? The fact that bouncing him back against the hand-picked no-hoper, it's to get slotted in there to build up his confidence. So that tells you that even Top Rank is very probably nervous. They're invested heavily. I said when that kid first came around, I thought he was the goods, and I said it was all dependent on the chin. Like I said back then, I said he has all the skills. He's got quick hands. He punches hard, but we just don't know. And I think when he took a shot it was right after he got chin checked a little by Martin, his whole game plan kind of changed. He seemed to change in there. And that's why I always say to people, even to this day, really, with Boots Ennis, we don't know. I mean, that kid, yes, he could hit hard the last kid he hit, but, I mean, come on, he's slow as and predictable. That was not... So it's the same thing. I still don't know who he is, even though he has that many fights, because I've never seen him chin checked. And I think that's the position right now with Jared. But again, it's the most false fucking, it's like a chick with fake tits and fake eyelashes and a wig on. You see her in the morning, you're like, it's all fake. It's not nothing. You're just giving him some body to beat up on.
And you know what, Jimmy? Fake tits, fake eyelashes, that's what we might be seeing Jared Anderson in 10 years from now, just based on his demeanor. Because, look, he's 23 years of age. He's got some physical tools in there. He was overhyped. And I'm not too angry about the overhyping thing, because, I mean, that's what Top Rank's supposed to do. They did it with Lomachenko. They've been doing it with Shakur Stevenson. Now they're doing it with Jared Anderson. That's what they do. They're supposed to hype this guy up to get the ratings and the viewers. That being said, like Jimmy said, you always got to be careful when you've got a prospect, especially one as young as Jared Anderson. There's always the hope that he can rebound and work on some things. I mean, there's, like I said, 23 years old, and if he really puts his mind into it, he can fix some of the things that ail him. That being said, the demeanor, him crying on national television about how he didn't, speaking in the third person too, by the way, as if he's been MK Ultra or something. Jared don't like fighting. Jared, he's crying live in front of people. Well, not live, but in that Top Rank thing. And I'm thinking, look, Teofimo Lopez, a lot of us were thinking, shit, this guy's breaking apart at the seams in the build-up to the Josh Taylor fight. And then what happened? He beat Josh Taylor. So sometimes maybe we see too much or look too much into a guy crying and breaking down outside the ring. But at least Teofimo Lopez held it together before he started showing those tears and those signs of mental distress. Jared Anderson hasn't really been into the deep end yet, and he's already showing that. So it's a little concerning. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and there's no excuse for fucking talking about yourself in the third person either. That's unforgivable. I hate that shit. It's so conducive with boxing. Almost no other sport does that.
Mm-hmm.
Athlete.
Hey, but doesn't he get a pass since his nickname is Big Baby?
There you go.
You're right. He's living up to the nickname. Yeah, he's got to live up to the nickname. You're right. Maybe we shouldn't fault him too much for that. Maybe actually we should credit him for that. But the point remains that this is a stay busy fight. And look, at the end of the day, it makes sense. This is what Mike Tyson, when he went 12 rounds with Mitch Green and I forget the other guy, his handlers had to recalibrate their expectations, say, holy shit, this guy, he went 12 rounds, or he went the distance actually, 2 times in a row. We got to get him back with a knockout win. And that's what they did. They matched him up soft a little bit again. And all of a sudden, as I always say here on this show, the only thing people remember is your last fight. So right now, when people think of Jared Anderson,
was that Quick Tillis?
Yeah, it was quick. Thank you, Gonzalo. It was Quick Tillis and Mitch Green. I think it was 10 rounders. Or I think there were 10 rounders. They went the distance, and he started losing a little bit of his luster, and then all of a sudden, whoop, match him up again, couple of knockouts, and people forgot all about those fights. And so that's the thing with Jared Anderson. People, when you think of Jared Anderson right now, people remember the Charles Martin fight, and how he was flailing at the wind and wasn't landing shots, getting rocked. If he takes this guy out, that's the one thing people are going to remember. And then the next time he looks better, people are going to remember that. So that's what they're doing. And also, you got to give credit to Top Rank here for keeping this guy active, by the way, because there's few other organizations out there who are keeping their young guys active. Most of these guys, they just like, for example, Brian Castaño. I was thinking about that. Jermell Charlo beat him up, right, in the rematch. And people go, wow, that's still one of Charlo's best wins. Where's he been? Just like Jermell Charlo, he's been inactive as well. So, and that's just one example out of many from that side of the street. So you got to give Top Rank credit here for at least keeping this guy active. Yes, it's not a fun fight. I probably am not going to watch it if the Colasso fight on the Zone, the main event over there, starts at the same time. But hey, this is what he needs. He needs to stay busy. He needs to rebound. He needs a good-looking fight, performance rather. So it is what it is.
Just a real quick side note, Mr. BDA. It's so funny. I was watching Rich, the fight historian, the marvelous one. His documentary on Marvin Hagler was excellent. Like, he puts on fights and then speaking after the fight. And it was Hagler, like, after he'd win, right? He'd sit there in the ring and say, yeah, and he'd talk to the crowds, everybody can hear. He's like, well, I'll be fighting in Boston, next month on the 17th. It's like all these fights, he was like fighting there next month or in 6 weeks after he was just in this fucking brawl. I'll be fighting next month in Boston. Like, wow, that's why those guys could fight like that. They fought all the time. So, yeah, it was just crazy when you go back, watch those old videos, how the sport was just different then. But and I want to say too, one thing good about tomorrow night's card, and they haven't overhyped this kid yet. He isn't to that status as far as Top Rank. I know exactly what you're saying with how they start when they have certain favorite sons. But Abdullah Mason, I don't know if anybody some of you guys haven't heard of this guy out there. Guys listening, I'm sure most of you have. But keep your eye on this kid. I'm telling you. Come the future, I would not be surprised if he's the man who beats. I've said it before. Stevenson. This kid's a very talented kid, but he has power. He knows how to use it. He's great with space and everything. But anyway, just watch him. I'm real high on that kid. Just my little side note.
Yeah, that he's going to be fighting on Saturday as well. And like I said, Oscar Colasso. How do you fucking say Colasso? Because that's a Puerto Rican name right there. Collazo or Colasso?
Well, in English, you'll say Colazo because there's no silent double L. So, but in Spanish, you'll say Collazo.
Collazo. Okay, yeah, because the L's, 2 L's, that's a Y in Spanish. There you go. Or an E, rather. What else was going to say? Hey, but here's the one I'm looking forward to the most on the ESPN card this Saturday. Ajagba versus the aforementioned European or Central Asian that I mentioned, whose name I cannot pronounce. But that's going to be an interesting one, fellas, because Ajagba, for a certain time there, a lot of people were making him out to be the Nigerian Deontay Wilder, and he just couldn't figure Frank Sanchez out when Frank Sanchez just blocked circles around him. Nevertheless, Ajagba can crack. He's an imposing figure himself, the modern heavyweight, over 6 feet 5 inches tall, and the guy he's fighting is relatively shorter. Hold on, I'm looking for his information here. Well, anyway, I'll look it up, but I've seen his fights on YouTube. You can catch him. What's his name again? Let me put the name here so people can actually look him up. Zhan, jeez Louise, with these fucking names. Kossobutsky?
Good. That's good enough. Right there, that sounds good.
He's a southpaw. He goes to the body. He's short but stocky. This is an interesting fight. And again, this Zhan guy, he was the one that was supposed to box Anderson about a month ago. And I think Top Rank decided, you know what? Another southpaw against Jared Anderson? No, thank you. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, fellas. Keep your eyes on this one.
And by the way, that kid, Jeffy, too, that guy, remember what happened? He left Texas, bro. The same time Errol Spence's guy. And remember I told you when I first got on the show, there was always rumors about a lot of funny business going down there and with, people on the shit. Look at the whole stable, right? Look at all the stable, right? When they hit to a certain point, when the fight started getting televised, and where VADA would get involved, all of a sudden their power all dissipated. All of them. He was one of them too. He was blowing dudes out one round, and next thing you know, he was going to distance with guys who've been knocked out before. Right after he left that place, left that camp.
Interesting, very interesting.
Just saying. Right.
Well, listen. In regards to that, what you're saying. First of all, the phone lines are open, so make sure to call in, fellas. I'm going to put the number in the left-hand middle portion of your screen. Here's the super chat, and it's for Jimmy. Shout out to Rafael Garza for his contribution to super chat. He says, Jimmy, what does mesterolone and primobolan do for women? Jimmy, are you there? You're muted. I don't know if you...
Jesus, I'm giving an explanation when I'm muted like an idiot. Do you want me to answer that now, BDA?
Sure. Please.
Oh, okay. Primobolan is, well, they're both considered cutting drugs, meaning at the end of your cycle, those are the drugs you take, because what primobolan does, it's mostly all anabolic, and it just keeps muscle mass, strength, but it doesn't put on a lot of weight. It's one of the steroids that doesn't put on weight, so it's considered a cutting drug. Masterone even more. Masterone, although the difference with that, I believe it has it's half androgenic properties and half anabolic, meaning it has male hormones in it too. So it gives you more strength. Like Masterone is also one of the oldest steroids. It predates World War II, so it's one of the oldest steroids. But Masterone is one of probably the best drug a boxer could take, because it adds aggression, strength, muscle conditioning, meaning like you have better conditioning, and you hit harder, but it also helps you, it speeds up your metabolism, right? So you actually burn fat while you're sleeping. So it's again, it's probably the best drug. That and halotestin, which is you don't want to ever take because it destroys your liver, but that gives nothing but rage and strength, no weight gain. Where the other two pre-mentioned, primobolan and masterone, which street name is Provin. Probivin or something like that. That's what this goes by on the street. But yes, that's excellent cut drugs and a perfect combat athlete drug. Anybody get caught taking that, they're a big time cheater.
Well, now interesting, because Rafael asked a question specifically about what does it do for women. Now, is it a whole different world prescribing steroids or PEDs to women than to men because of the fact that women's physiology is a little different or much different?
Well, yeah, you would take that with, if a woman's going to dabble in steroids, unless she's a bodybuilder, then she's going to go like to the, like shit like, the big stuff, Anadrol 50, Sustanon, all that crazy test shit, which is all just testosterone shit to blow you up. The other stuff is anabolic. It's still going to give you male characteristics. The voice is going to deepen a little, right? The clit's going to grow, not to be, graphic, but it's true. The sex drive is going to jump up big time. That's why I always be shit. If you ever did a fucking chick who's taking that shit, watch out. But anyways, yes. So that's why they take it. But there is some definite changes, and he's probably asking because of the female, one of the more popular ones, Alicia Baumgardner. Her test came back and she failed for that specific drug, and that's really fucked up because she's asking for a separate thing. But what she should, if she really claims it's innocent and something's happening, it's an easy way to take care of that. Take a hair follicle. It'll tell you everything chemical-wise she's taken, and it'll tell if it was a one-time mistake, like it was in something she ate, which doesn't make sense. But say if that was the case, they could tell. They could tell if it was somebody who took it once or took it over a period of time by the hair follicle. But I've not heard anybody from her or her camp ask for that.
And you would think they would know about it, because I don't know shit about steroids, but I know that a hair follicle test will show you what's been in that system for years. I think for years. So the fact that they're not coming up with that...
As long as the hair's been growing, yes. It could be years. As long as the hair on your head has been grown. If a person gets caught doing something like that and they show up with a shaved head, you know something's up.
Right. The Boxing Prophet says, BDA, ask him if there's any IV that could mask it for a while. Well, first of all, IV of what?
He's asking if you could drain it if you could mask it. There's some companies who claim they have that. There's even companies more advanced coming out with shampoos and rinses that's supposed to break down that stuff inside your hair. So it would come down to like, they could find it if they did it in like a mastograph, one of those things that breaks down the hair follicles by the, the chemical compounds, opposed to just, the more severe they could do, but nobody's going to spend that kind of money to check. So maybe they can wash it out. There's some masking agents, but I don't really believe in them. There's some diuretics, but then you end up popping dirty for those. They show up in your tests.
Yeah, that's what
It's
I'm interested
tricky.
in.
There's way to mask it, but not that. What's that?
Victor Conte was on the 3 Knockdown Rules latest episode, and he said that the worst testing being the worst proponents of tests right now, the promotional wise, are Matchroom and the PBC. He says that he was working with Demetrius Andrade for his last fight, and that he didn't even get tested in that one. So they test some guys and they don't test others. I guess they don't want to. They want to skirt maybe on the on the testing, and they want to pay for some, not for others. Matchroom, apparently what they do is they actually have a list of substances that they say, oh, test for these ones, but not for these, which is insane, because essentially you're letting the fighter know, hey, you can take these, but not these. But even with the PBC, I mean, the guy that was going to fight Rolly Romero, Puello, he gets caught. I remember years ago, what's his name? Willie Monroe was going to fight one of the Charlos. He gets caught. It's never the A side over there that gets caught. Now, the counter argument to that might be, well, it's just because these guys are elite and they don't need PEDs, whereas some of the other lesser fighters have to take them. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'm of the opinion that most of the top guys
if I'm not mistaken, the PBC got they signed something with VADA that they can't release it. They can only say if they'll release their fighter got popped, but they won't say what the fighter got popped for.
Well, that's the thing, though, because
you know what I mean.
Beebs from the Ringside Reporter, he's been on Twitter talking about that, and again, the people he pointed out what some people forget, and I was forgetting about it myself too. That VADA and USADA, those two organizations, for example, they don't conduct the tests themselves. They contract a lab to conduct the tests, and then they decide what to do with the results. And I believe USADA. I think that was the whole debacle with Eric Morales, Danny Garcia, the second one, where Morales tested positive. But I think it was USADA at that time who had done the test, and they gave him to the promoter and not to the commission directly. So there's a bunch of hijinks occurring there. You would think the results would be given directly to the commission that was going to sanction the fight, and the Alphabet organization that's sanctioning the fight as well. But apparently that's not what everybody does. So, I mean, look.
Well, those Alphabet societies should be fucking financing this. They make so much money. I mean, Fat Boy over at WBC, he gets a salary. I mean, he's worth $40 million. Silverman, $40 million. So clearly he's paying himself well. They give VADA, I think they have like a $200,000 a year. That's their, what they have to spend. And that's to fly all over the fucking world and take these tests. So it's not cheap. So they have to be probably very selective of where they go. But then again, that's the sanction bodies are charging enough for these belts, and not really doing anything for it. Especially they just, WBC pulled the mandatory Ruiz Wilder. That was funny how once they realized the belt wasn't going to be up, he wasn't retiring. All of a sudden they weren't going to mandate that fight. That's another whole thing.
And that's the thing, though. That's the thing. Look, my contention is 99% of these guys are on something. You'll take a look at, for example, Juan Marquez, when he fought Pacquiao, the first time he went up in weight against Mayweather, he was just throwing stones around as training and eating quail eggs and drinking piss, and he showed up fat in that one. Then he fights Pacquiao, and that's because he contracted Memo Heredia, who's a guru of PEDs. All of a sudden, he shows at near 40 years of age, he shows up with increased muscle mass and reduced fat. I mean, you're not supposed to do that as you get older. Same thing with Mayweather. As he was going along, especially for the Pacquiao fight, the Maidana fights, in the Canelo fight, he looks fucking ripped and still retaining muscle mass. You're not supposed to do that as you get older. Somebody, by the way, left a comment in the last video we did about Charlo Canelo. He says, Mayweather wasn't little. I'm thinking, have you seen when they were facing off right before the fight in the middle of the rings? He looked about as big as Canelo. So I don't understand where people come up with this. Pacquiao, too, I'm willing to bet. He never got caught with anything. But don't tell me a guy like that, no matter how physically gifted, can just start his career at flyweight or whatever he was, and then compete all the way up to 152 at that catchweight. I mean, it's ridiculous. These guys are all
Floyd has injection. he has injection scars on his abdominal. I mean, just look at it when he's doing a double bicep pose at the weigh-in. You can see the GH injection marks on his stomach because that's exactly where you shoot it. You get those little BBs left over. It just gets a little scar, and it takes about 6 weeks to 2 months for them to dissipate, sometimes even longer. Some guys have it for years because that's where you got to shoot it between your skin. You can't put it inside the muscle, GH. It's got to go, it's not sublingual? No, that's under the tongue. But yeah, between the skin and the muscle, not intermuscular. So that's where you shoot it. And like if you look at somebody post a picture of like Floyd side by side next to Roy Jones and John Jones, notorious fucking PED cheat, and same thing, GH injection marks. That's why his frame was able to change. Because like you're asking, how did his frame seem to get bigger and wider? Because growth hormone. He had the money. He could afford the good stuff. He was probably buying the real shit off Cadivers, not even synthesized. So
by the way,
that's what those the marks are. 100% GH marks. No questions asked.
We got a phone call here, and I forget that now. What's his name? Blog Talk. They put a music. I think they put a little jingle, so the people on the air can't even on hold can't even hear what we're saying. So I forget about that. I gotta get to these calls quickly. 336. You're on the air. And before, answer me this question: was the music still playing while you were on hold, or could you hear us?
Yeah. I was gonna get to that. No, I heard you guys completely the entire time. So,
oh, fantastic! Good.
Yeah,
Good. Well, yeah, we don't need to be playing any jingles.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, for when it comes to the steroid talk, I believe everyone's pretty much on something. You guys got to remember, this is a multi-million-dollar business. Well, actually, I guess all of boxing is a billion-dollar business. Probably because I think all the promotional companies are worth $2-3 billion. If you don't think these guys are on something, you're just delusional. That's why I don't really care when people piss hot, because I just know like pretty much everyone's on it. Even my favorite fighters are on it. So Pacquiao was probably on something to start from 97 pounds all the way up to 154 to win titles. I mean, he fought, 8 pounds underweight at 105 and went all the way up to beat Margarito. Look at Floyd Mayweather's skull from when he was at 30 and 35 to 54 later throughout his career. His fucking shoulders got wider, his skull got bigger. He was on human growth hormone. It looks like Kamaru Usman, from the UFC, before he started, falling off, before his body got destroyed from all his PED use. Wait, man, the dude's fucking skull was big. He was in his 30s with acne and shit like that. Juan Manuel Marquez, with a huge PED cheat against Pacquiao in his 40s, had acne on his back, never had that. Bigger, muscular, less fat. He just looked huge. So they're all on it, really, if we're just being honest. Alicia Baumgardner, like, her clit is, like, longer than my flaccid dick right now, I bet, with how much fucking man-med she's been putting in her. Seriously. And, the fucking Lions big ball chokers gagging her. Oh, she's innocent until proven guilty. Just cheerleading for her and shit like that. Like, those niggas is down hard, man. Hard. What were you guys going to say?
Yeah, I saw that. No, I saw that big time simping on Twitter for her.
Maybe.
Yeah, Trump side doing it. The rest of the Lick Deontay's Balls crew doing it. It's just cringe. What were you going to say, BDA?
She's got a nice ass. She's innocent.
This is the sound that you hear when you flick. This is the sound that you hear when you flick Baumgartner's clit. It's hard as a rock.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. No kidding.
What was I gonna say? Well, I mean, I don't even know about the Baumgartner situation, but I know I was gonna read it right before I went on the air, but I ran out of time. I think New York Mag. What's it called? NY Fights. And that's what I got from
New York Times. Something.
No, not the New York Times. Fuck the New York Times. Beeb was talking about on Twitter was talking about an article by Ryan O'Hara. It's an opinion piece from New York Fights, and it's called "Alicia Baumgardner Won't Be Heavily Punished for Positive Drug Test," and he's detailing the whole saga of that test. Now, I don't care too much about women's boxing. That's why I haven't really followed this too much. But apparently, yeah, it's a big thing on the Twitter.
Yeah, that's an interesting link. You'll have to drop that. And I'll get to the Usyk fight real quick. So I think Usyk's going to get Dubois out of there in 8 or 9. I have the exact same prediction as Jimmy. You got to remember, Joe Joyce is touching this dude up, finding his range. Usyk still got it, I think. And, the heavyweights don't regress as fast as the other weight classes. He's way faster than Dubois, way faster hands. I think the Dubois' really only chance to win is to stop him in the 3rd or 4th round, early. If he doesn't just chin check him early, I mean, I guess there's always a puncher's chance at heavyweight, but the longer the fight goes, the more Usyk's going to dominate. And I don't see any way that Dubois goes a distance against Usyk that fought AJ, even in the second fight. I mean, AJ can take a shot a little bit, you know, and he's got some heart and all that shit. And he's been there with top guys. He's been hit by like a bunch of really hard punchers throughout his entire career. Dubois, not so much, except for Joe Joyce, and he just got ragged, you know. And for Usyk's doggo meter, it's like an 8 or 9. I'd say Dubois is a 4. You know, you don't get points for just getting beat on and like not trying to offer anything back and then just taking a knee and quitting, you know. So Usyk's got more dog. I'm really torn on the Zheli Zhang and Joe Joyce rematch because Zhang's hands are just so much faster. And people got to remember that his last 3 fights, aside of the Hrgovic fight, whenever he fights, it looks like his gas tanks have been improving. So he's probably on that fucking rocket fuel or something for sure. That Chinese rocket fuel, I'd have to imagine. Right. So I'm still going to go with Zhang, you know, and that's a big shock because I think a lot of people, you know, they understand how tough Joe Joyce is. Even though he got his fucking face rearranged, he never left his feet. And, so he'll take a good beating again, I think. But I think he'll give a better account of himself. And one last thing before I go. With the Tim Tszyu thing, I think Tim Tszyu is going to fight. Who's the dude that just stopped Rosario and Fundora again? I can't remember his name. Mendoza, maybe Brian Mendoza, right? He's like a top 3, top 4 guy in the division. And Charlo's not coming back down after this ass whooping. He's not going to come back down and wait. And I'd like to see maybe Crawford fight Tim Tszyu. I don't want to see Crawford sell his O to Canelo Alvarez. That doesn't interest me. I want to see Crawford versus Tim Tszyu. I would give Crawford a lot more credit beating Tim Tszyu than the version of Spence that we saw at this point. And because I think Tim Tszyu's, you know, really, really good. I mean, his dad's a fucking Hall of Famer. And he was outboxing Tony Harrison, and it took Jermell Charlo 23 rounds to separate himself from Tony Harrison. And that was just a fucking knockout. He was getting outboxed in both fights until he stopped in the second fight. That didn't happen at all with Tim Tszyu, and that would be another huge win for him. And yeah, that would probably be, in my opinion, Crawford's best win of his career if he beat Tim Tszyu after the Brian Mendoza fight, assuming Tim Tszyu wins. So that's what I want to see for Crawford. I don't want to see this Canelo fiasco shit. That's just my opinion on that, and that's all I got to say.
All right, Firefist, thank you for your call. Call back next time, all right, man? Take it easy out there. All right. Yeah, that Jermell Charlo getting outboxed by Tony Harrison, man, that was even in the first fight, Tony Harrison outboxed him from the outside, and then he was on his way to working him coming forward in the rematch. So there's you can beat Charlo going back or going forward. It's been proving, and you know Canelo's been beaten, but he's never suffered a defeat to a guy of Tony Harrison's level. So there is that to be considered, and I'm looking forward to that fight in September. Let's go to our phone call here. Let's go to 210. 210, you're in the air. 210, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, guys? Anthony.
What's up? What's up, Anthony?
Interesting subject, man. I just posted a link to the Joe Rogan experience when Victor Conte was on back in 2012. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. It really explains a lot of why he did it and how he tried to raise flags in the past, and he pretty much got shut down, so he just kind of went with the flow. It goes into what happened with him and Memo Heredia. So it's really interesting stuff, man. I actually got to hang out with Victor down in Windows in an event down in San Antonio, and this dude is wicked smart, and he knows his shit. So yeah, man. So it's just, I agree with the last caller. I think a lot of these guys are on steroids. You know, being a boxing guy.
By the way, did it throw you off that he, you know, he's got those, it seems like he's always squinting. I don't know if it's because of the glasses, so that's just the way he looks. Did you think, hey, this guy kind of looks Chinese a little bit? Now that we're talking about Zhang and all those guys, doesn't he look a little bit Asian?
Yeah, he likes Asian women. I didn't know that.
Is that right? Well, there you go. We just have an exclusive right there. He likes the yellow pussy.
He loves Asian women.
What's that?
Me love you a long time.
I mean, yeah, but like, you know, being down here in Texas, you know, like I said, I used to be involved in the scene with covering fights, and you know, you get to know a lot of these fighters, and I've had a lot of idle conversations with people who grew up around some of the guys like the Spences, the Charlos, and because they all grew up in the amateurs together. They're roommates. They know each other well. So I've known about Spence's party habits for the longest time. And also, y'all don't have to believe me. Nobody has to believe me. But I know, like, for a fact, Charlo's, I think they've done growth hormone, coming up. I don't know if they're still on it, but, it just stuff comes up in idle conversation like that where it's not really like talking about people, but like, it just comes up just because we're just talking about like snack and all these kinds of things that are going on in boxing. So that just kind of threw me off. And I agree with the last call. I think most guys are on it. And, it's clear as day with Felicia Baumgardner and Juan Manuel Marquez, sometimes the eye test, you got to just trust your instincts, right?
That's right. Well, listen, Anthony. I always get you confused. Is this Sean Anthony or is it a different Anthony?
No, it's a different one.
Different. Okay, Anthony from Houston, you said, right?
No, Texas, San Antonio area.
San Antonio. All right, my wrong city. All right. Well, listen, Anthony. Thank you for your call, man, and call back next time.
All right, take it easy.
All right. So there you go, an exclusive. Victor Conte likes the Asian women. I mean, I can just picture him whenever he goes to a conference or something, or to give a conference or a talk, and he's in the fucking Holiday Inn or whatever. And he opens up the booklet and he goes, "Yes, I'd like an escort, please. For the evening." I mean, I don't know. It's just that's the way I envision it. Not that I'm saying that I would have done that type of stuff in the past, but I've seen people do it. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas.
Mr. BDA, tu buku.
Well, how much was it? $50. Tu boku. Oh, tu boku. By the way, that's redundant. That's redundant, by the way, because boku already means too much. So you don't have to say tu boku. But hey, those guys don't know. They're fucking. They're grunts. They know what they know is about to kill. That's what they know. So I don't blame them. Let's go to another phone call here. By the way, let's go to
Mr. BA. I just say real quick. I posted something in the Discord where everybody wants to question, because we've always talked about Spence being drunk in public. I don't know if it's kind of an offshoot thing, but I don't know if you heard it. It's him saying on a podcast that not only was he drinking, partying, he says right here, I was partying even after my accident. Yeah, it's like a 10-second clip. It's him admitting it.
Well, let me play that. Tell you that. Before, let me read a super chat from Chris K, by the way. Chris K, shout out for his contribution to the super chat. He says, great documentary. Charlo can't outbox Canelo, and he won't have the power advantage. So what chance does he have? Charlo cashing out or delusional? Well, I mean, I think he's going to grow into that division because, again, he's a big 154-pounder. All he has to do is show up and not drain himself to make weight anymore. So he could actually benefit them. But you're right. From a skill standpoint, Canelo is just that much better than Charlo. Not by a lot. I'm not saying Charlo's a bum, but there's a clear distinction between intelligence in there, between Canelo and Charlo, and that's just what it is. All right, let me play. Now, Jimmy, is this a recent podcast, or is this something that just happened before the Crawford fight?
Well, it has to be recent enough where it was after his accident, but before Crawford. And he admits he was partying, by the way it sounds a lot. He's just ripping it up, I believe, something like that. But
after my car crash, I was still like going out, drinking and everything, and having fun, partying and everything right after my car crash.
All right, I don't know if people heard that because the audio is actually pretty. He's talking via telephone, so it's kind of hard to listen. But he said, even after my accident, I was still partying and having fun. And let me just re-listen to it.
Like after my car crash, I was still like going out, drinking and everything, and having fun, partying and everything.
Drinking and everything, having fun and everything. That's a quote right there. He was having fun and everything, drinking. So there you go. I mean,
what do you think that everything means? What do you think that everything means? That's it. You know what I mean? I think it probably means coke.
And Asian hookers.
Drinking and everything. You know what I mean? Like partying.
He was also taking the Oxycontin, because you got to assume he was taking pain pills. So those are equally as tough, if not more, on the liver than the alcohol. But if you're mixing the two, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. You're right, Gonzalo. That's an interesting observation, because we got to recall that infamous you want to go to Dubai video. He wasn't drunk in that one. That wasn't fucking alcohol that he was on. That was that was something more powerful. We can only imagine what it was. But I mean, come on, he's mumbling.
Yeah, so and people gave us shit too. People would call, "Oh, you guys don't know they're drinking," and would say, but every time you see him on camera, what's the chances that every time he's on camera, he's that buzzed out, And that fucking Dubai, want to go Dubai, baby?
By the way,
come on.
I didn't finish playing the whole clip. This is him still going.
I'm really drunk. Really, I am. I'm out of my head.
Yeah, there you see it. He admitted himself he was having a little too much fun and everything. Here's the other thing, though. Again, just to rewind, because with the whole Dr. 805 saga, the reason, and one of the reasons why I was convinced to go with Crawford, more than just the skills and all that, was because of everything Jimmy and Chief were saying, and other people as well. The fact that Spence wasn't reacting well to punches in the Danny Garcia fight and the Ugas fight. The fact that we saw him drunk in the Virgil Ortiz fight, the whole Dubois, wanna go to Dubai video. I mean, it's just, and then the inactivity. So, all of a sudden that it made you that the pick relatively easier to make. But some people still didn't want to believe it. And I want to get back to that too, by the way, with the Canelo thing, because it just seems to me like people want to prop up Crawford a little bit too much in regards to a potential Canelo fight. Just to make him look good and leave Canelo looking bad. But we'll get to that. We get a phone call here. Let's go to 323. 323, you're on the air. 323, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How you doing?
Don Madrazos, what's up, man?
I got to say, I think that, we can't overlook the fact that, Crawford's definitely feeling himself kind of like Canelo was feeling himself when it became undisputed and went up to fight Bivol.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't blame the guy, really. The guy's got the skills, he's got the knowledge, he's a fabulous boxer, he's got the power. But I don't think I don't know if he has enough power to keep a guy like Canelo off of him, because if you saw the Kavaliauskas fight, Kavaliauskas doesn't hit as hard or isn't as skilled as Canelo, and Kavaliauskas had him in trouble, even though Crawford did win. He did have him in trouble a couple of times and did hurt him. And I don't care what the ref said. That was a drop in the second round. He did drop him. I don't know if you guys replayed that, but that definitely was not a slip. But we will see in this next fight, because Canelo is on the downslide. If Canelo struggles at all with Charlo or goes the distance or whatever, then he's not beating Bud Crawford. I mean, that's what I have to say about that. I mean, if he doesn't get Charlo out of there, a guy that's been inactive almost 2 years, and a guy that's not acclimated to that weight class, I don't see Canelo. Maybe I wouldn't go as far as to say he won't beat him, but maybe it'll be like a 50-50, or I would have to edge it towards Bud Crawford if they do fight. But if Canelo does get Charlo out of there and dominates him the whole fight, just where Charlo loses every single round, then yeah, I'd give him a chance. But to beat Bud Crawford, but that's a big ask, and I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that. I really think he's just feeling himself right now. He's very much on top of the world, and he's in his head about it, just like Canelo was. And you can't blame the guy. The guy really achieved a lot by becoming a two-time undisputed in a different weight class.
Well, he deserves his credit, because not for nothing, and I'm not exaggerating here, the saga did take a long time for the fight to get made, and that saga involved him being accused of being the one that was stalling the fight. I mean, I still remember the debates that were going on Twitter and YouTube, and Crawford's scared, he don't want that smoke, and all sorts of excuses. So that must have grated him a little bit. So by the time the fight came back, it must have been highly satisfying for him to get that win.
We also have to remember who this is coming from. It's coming from one particular community,
right? Look, that community, there are a bunch of virus. That community, there are a bunch of narcissists and victim. They love playing the victim card. And they enjoy the victimhood. But my thing is this, though. My thing is this, though.
I think what those guys say with a grain of salt. I think we should all take what they say.
Yeah, forget about that. Forget about. Listen. I'm not interested in the ghetto as Nimrods. What I'm interested in here is that the Crawford thing, because you got to remind people of this. even the people that were picking Crawford and who are now talking shit to the Errol Spence crowd, and deservedly so, because the Spence crowd were being most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them were being very vicious and making it personal. So I understand why the Crawford fans are going after them. But even the Crawford fans, they were so adamant about a Crawford victory because of the factors we mentioned: the inactivity from Spence, the partying, the accident. Now all of a sudden they want to forget about that because they don't want to talk shit to the Spence fans, deservedly so. But let's not forget those factors there too. That's why it's Crawford. He's feeling his oats, like you said, but maybe it's a little bit. I'm not saying it's completely an illusion, but it's a bit of an illusion here.
Yeah. I mean, it happens to it happens to fighters. It's not the first time it's happened to a fighter where he does something miraculous and everyone's propping him up and he's feeling himself and now he thinks he can conquer the world and but I still wouldn't count him out. I give Crawford a 30% chance of beating Canelo, but we'll see. That will change if Canelo doesn't dominate or doesn't beat Charlo and get him out of there. Then that percentage, in my opinion, will go up, and I will have to favor Crawford to win that fight.
Interesting. All right, well, there you go, man. That's a potential fight right there. People are talking about it now more than ever. I mean, a week after the Crawford-Spence fight, we mentioned that, and some people were saying, that's not that stupid to ask a question. Doesn't seem all that stupid now. But go ahead, Omar. What are you going to say?
Well, the other thing, too, is all the people that wanted to see Benavidez and Canelo, now Benavidez is on the back burner because of this Crawford talk. Now, I think if Benavidez fights Andrade and Benavidez staunches that motherfucker and knocks him out right away, the conversation is going to switch back to Canelo and Benavidez again. So
that's true.
It's going to be ping pong all over again. It's just going to be ping pong. Like who's the biggest threat Canelo can fight? Who's the guy that's going to take him out? Who's the next boogeyman? So they're already illustrating the next boogeyman with to beat Canelo with Crawford, and then it's going to go back to David. And if Andrade beats David by some miracle, then it's going to switch to Andrade, and we're going to have to hear that shit again. And then we're going to have to hear how Canelo's ducking everyone all over again. So
there you go.
It's just a never ending. It's never ending. Anyway, guys, I'll leave you to it. You guys have a good one. Take care.
You too, man. All right, thank you for calling in. Catch you in the next one, man. Take it easy out there. All right. Fellas, I gotta dip out real quick. You guys talk about whatever you want, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, I was gonna mention, no disrespect to los madrazos, but I hear a lot of people saying that Canelo's on the slide. I don't believe that, man. John Porter, obviously Mayweather, because he don't want Canelo to continue doing well because he's gonna supersede whatever he's already done and maybe eclipse what Mayweather he himself has done. See, Canelo did he knock out Cotto? Did he knock out Austin Trout and Islandi Lara? No. So after that, when he fought Golovkin, obviously world class chin, he went on a tear and knocked out all these middleweights in the super middleweights in 11 months. So you got to remember, Canelo's 33. He's the same age as the Charlos. And Errol Spence, Crawford is 3 years older. Obviously, when you're fighting at 68, it's not going to be the same style you were fighting at 54. You're going to throw less punches. Now, he's evolved into a style where he tries to, drop them sledgehammers. And he was hurt in his last fight, right? But working up to that style, he's been dropping them bombs on the water bag, on the wrecking ball, on that big-ass shield. So, by the time 2-3 years have passed by, right now we can say, okay, that style is probably better than it was 2-3 years ago. Him dropping, them fucking 1-2 sledgehammers. So obviously he's evolved from the other style into this one. Doesn't mean that all the other skills that surround him, like the defense, have gone away. He will resort to them if he needs to compromise inside of the ring when he's not actually beating you down and stuff. But Canelo, you saw him in the Breakfast Club interview, how much better his English is. His English is much better. So obviously that dude's got a quick mind. He processes things very well, and he's quick to shoot back at any question, even by fast speaking Black Americans. He can really give you an answer like that. No hesitation. He's resolute in his thinking. So in my opinion, the dude is still in his prime for this new style that he's fighting.
Yeah, I would agree, brother. I don't think he's sharp one yet. We'll see. He's 33, like you said. Charlo's the same age, but I don't want to co-sign any of that Crawford talk. I think that's just ridiculous. Going up 3 weight classes, and a lot of that's being sung. I know that Crawford's like, the money's right or whatever. I didn't really pay that close attention to what he said because I just don't want to even entertain it. I would hope that he has more respect for his legacy than take that cash out, because that's all it is. Charlo hasn't fought in over a year. He's not, he's going to fight and possibly lose to Tszyu, for pennies on the dollar, what he's going to make for fighting Charlo. And the bottom line is, there's not a snowball's chance in hell he goes back down to 154. So we kind of lost a real good legacy fight for what most people consider a cash grab, and I think it is too. And I think for a guy, and again, there's one consistent thing always with these PBC fighters, whether it's Fulton, Spence, and now Charlo. It's over a year since the last time they fought when they eventually step in the ring. Some cases, well over a year. And these guys, and you always say the same thing. Yeah, my timing was off. Remember, that was the first thing Spence said at the end of the fight after he got fucking pounded on. I don't know, man. Just my timing was off. Yeah, of course your time was off. You're a part-time professional boxer. The fuck, dude? You fought twice in the last almost 4 years. Of course your timing's off. And you're in there against somebody like Crawford who was smart enough to say, fuck you. I'm fighting Avesian under the threat of they were going to pull out of the fight. I mean, you ask yourself, why were they so upset? Why was, Spence's people so upset about him taking the fight? Because they knew it was only going to help him, going to a camp, getting ready for shots. And somebody like Crawford, and, when Crawford called it, he said it back in 2019. When I do stop him, all y'all going to say he was too weight trained, and he'll make all the excuses. It's so funny how it's kind of become a profit on that one, because, of course, everybody's coming up all kinds of excuses. And I'll tell you right now, the outcome was going to be this. He was losing that fight. If it was in his prime, Spence would have lost that fight. Difference is he might not have got the shit knocked out of him. But drinking and inactivity made him look like, what he looked like that night. And he took a beating. And I don't know if I know his corner said he's going to want the rematch, but I have not heard. They have 30 days. And I think they have the end of this week to make that thing official or say they signed up the rematch. I have not heard they've done it yet. Have you?
No, but yeah, I don't think Errol Spence will ever be world champion again. Especially at 54, the size of the gloves goes up. Now it's 10. You were getting the knockdowns, and you know what made it worse in that fight, Jimmy? Well, I think a big part played too the Texas heat, overtraining and the Texas heat, and not having the time to recover, let alone replenish. So playing into the fact that he's always dehydrated himself to make 147. That dude was fighting like a guy that could take a punch when actually he couldn't this time around. It's like a dude that don't got a chin, getting on the front foot and trying to beat you down. And his punches, like, let's say he don't got that much power, which he does, but, him being depleted, his punch weren't as impactful. But not only that, he's coming forward. Imagine a guy that don't got a chin coming forward, but in his mind, he's thinking that he does. It was kind of those two, that style with Errol Spence. He's thinking, okay, I can come forward, but now you're coming forward and you can't take a punch. So he's right there. To be hit by a Terence Crawford, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jimmy, and it continues because I want to give Terence Crawford his flowers, and he said it, that everybody always come up with an excuse. Hey, but at the same time, it is what it is, man. It is what it is, bro.
And the thing is, Gonzalo, like if you go back and I went all the way back to Compost, and when he had the most watched fight on television in like 10 years because it followed the men's championship gold medal round. So he got like 6 million views, which is crazy for regular television. And that kind of set it up. But even back then, if you go back and look at his fights, he really didn't look really that different. But he's like, well, he looks slow. No, maybe his talk or whatever else. But you look back at his punches and the style he brought into that fight was what he's been doing all along. Long stretching jab, and then throws a combo off the jab. Throws the right and then follows it up with left to the body. Very straightforward. He never takes his head off the line. For the most part, he's not a feint kind of guy. He's kind of a power fighter. And always on a bigger side. And the thing is, he's never fought. I think that was only the third fucking lefty he's ever fought in his whole career, and hasn't been for over a decade. So he had all those things going against him. He's coming against a sharpshooter who can just, people don't realize, just they'll take 6 inches to the side. They go off the line by 6 inches while following up. And I'll tell you, anybody who watches that fight, I can tell you exactly when the fight changed, when it was become Crawford's fight. At the 48 seconds into the fucking fourth round. 48 seconds into the second round, he caught him, like, Spence threw a sharp, hard, his typical jab, went to throw it out, and it actually kind of caught Crawford because he stepped a little to the side, and then it caught him an over-the-top right cross, a quick right cross, and he snapped his neck real fast, and he changed after that. Spence changed. All of a sudden, he stepped back. And it was a few minutes. His balance was never right again. Right after that, he stepped back, and his feet kind of crossed a little. And it was about a minute after that when he dropped him with that kind of double shot, right jab shot type of thing. But, yeah, it was at that point you could see it. His whole mannerism changed. He really rung his bell. And I think he never got his balance back from that cross over the top, over the jab.
I got to go back to the phone calls here, but Gonzalo, you want to say something about that, or you guys let me know?
Coincidence, so yeah, just listening to Jimmy.
All right, let's go back to the phone calls here, phone lines rather. Let's go to, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. 205, you're on the air. 205, what's on your mind?
What's up, DDA?
Oh, Uncle Charles, what's up, man?
Man, let me just say this, man. This has been one hell of a show, one interesting show. This is why I come over here, because everybody on this panel is very knowledgeable in the game. It's undisputed. God damn it, we can talk all night over some Marshmallow and Bill. It's undisputed over here, man. It's what it is. Let me tell you something, man. I am sick. Sometimes boxing puts you on a high, and then it puts you on a low. Let me explain something to you. Who gives a damn about who Usyk fighting? He ain't fighting Deontay Wilder. He ain't fighting Tyson Fury. And you know why? He ain't going to fight Deontay Wilder? Because it's like sticking your goddamn hand, your finger in a damn plug in the wall. You know it's going to kill you, so what the hell you doing it for? And then, if you get in there with Tyson Fury, you're going to get the hell beat out you. Who gives a damn if he fighting Dubois? All these people are fighting people they think they can beat. Nobody want to call out Deontay Wilder. Nobody want to call out Tyson Fury. And here's Anthony Joshua. He don't beat a guy that got mollyhopped, mud stomped all the way through. He got in the ring, and he gonna beat this dude that looked like a clone of Tyson Fury, and all of a sudden his ass is back on track. Guess what? Y'all ain't Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. Let me tell you something. It's over for you, Anthony Joshua. All he's fighting now is for the money. That's all he's fighting for. It's like the Austin Hall show. It's a done damn deal. It ain't gonna work no more for him. He ain't gonna fight these guys. He's scared of them. Nobody gives a damn. And let me tell you something. Ugas don't need to fight no more until he find his damn eyeball. Where is it? He running around here like Sammy Davis Jr. Come on, man. That guy don't took that. What they took your eye out your head, and now you gonna get the other one took out. Come around here, your career should be over like that ass whooping. I'm telling you that right now. Let me explain something. I'm gonna say this in closing. We love the game of boxing. Boxing is a part of our life, because either you watch a fight in the ring or you watch one down at the package store. And I personally like the ones at the package store because you know somebody gonna get their ass whooped. And let me say this, and one more other thing. Let me tell you something. I know it's hot right here. It's so goddamn hot. I thought Satan was behind my steering wheel. But please, I'm asking all people. Please don't wear your no flip-flops and no open-toe shoes if you ain't cut your goddamn toenails. I swear, oh Lord, they got a neighborhood drunk right here named Cookie Bear. He ain't cut his toenails since 1975. He's the only one that can put on socks and turn them into leg warmers. And that's all I got to say, and I appreciate you, BDA. Keep on pushing, baby.
All right, thank you, Uncle Charles. Always appreciate your calls. And yes, he's preaching to the choir. Cut your nails, man. Cut those toenails, man, because it's and actually it's dangerous too, man. If you wear sneakers or whatever and you don't coat those toenails, they can actually start pressing down on your feet and start stabbing it. And then you gotta fucking pull them out and go to the podiatrist to get that taken care of. Not that I'm speaking from experience, but that's what my parents always told me. So I've always been prudent to do that. Although sometimes I forget.
So true. I saw a chick the other day in the bank, dude. I went into the bank real quick. Chick was pretty hot looking. right? She had open toes. She was going down her legs. She looked like a fucking velociraptor. She had this fucking toenail on her. Like, what the fuck? Totally ruined the whole package.
Wow, that's disgusting, man. That is absolutely horrendous. Don't forget
You got a call, Petey?
Yes, but go ahead before I go to it.
I just wanted to double down on the fact that, like I mentioned, I think Canelo's in his prime still because he's fighting a higher weight. Obviously, going to throw the lesser punches. But I mean, is the chin deteriorating? No, he's working on the neck all the time. Is the defense? The defense is there. He's just not implementing it until if he needed to resort, he would. Is the power punching? Well, he had a hurt wrist for the last 2 fights, so he's barely starting to come back where he's laying the leather on the heavy bag, and we've seen that he's working for power now. So the power obviously is different because he's trying to land with authority, put a stamp on the punches. So the punches, the stamina, obviously, I mean, he's got to pace himself differently. You saw the interviews, BD. Me as a Spanish, English speaking, a bilingual person, I understand what Canelo's level was before with the whole English, but now it's improved by leaps and bounds, man. When he talks, he's quick. He shoots back. He's not like using any filler words. Like even me, just think of like Oscar de la Hoya. When he talks, like, doesn't he have like a bunch of filler words? Canelo, sharp with the tongue, and the mind is an extension of the body. So if the mind is quick to react, obviously, Canelo is quick to connect that to the way he fights, because what you think is right. So I'm just saying, Canelo, to me, he's in his prime. And if Canelo 33, Crawford 36, man.
Well, just to touch on your point there, I believe Canelo's heard those that criticism of how he looked in the John Ryder fight, the one punch at a time approach, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe he addressed it and he said something along the lines of, if you think I'm done or if you think I'm limited, watch this fight. And again, if you go back to the Golovkin rubber match, when Canelo fought Callum Smith, and when he fought Billy Joe Saunders, he was having that one punch at a time approach. When he fought Golovkin, all of a sudden he fights a guy with a good jab and who can rival him in power. All of a sudden he was showing he went back to his old style. Not the combination punching, that's long gone. He's not a middleweight anymore, but the point is that he can switch it up. So yeah, I think Gonzalo broke it down perfectly after the John Ryder fight of perhaps why Canelo was fighting the way he did in that fight. I'm not going to go through it right now because I got to go to a phone call. We might revisit that after this, all right? Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Let's go to a phone call here. Let's go to 559. 559, you're on the air. 559, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, BD? How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Who is this, by the way?
Boxing Prophet.
Oh, Boxing Prophet. All right, what's up, man?
I just wanted to weigh in on the last dude's call, man. Man, time to get out of here. There's so many excuses, bro. First of all, I do want to say that. And then on the second part, I want to say I wanted to talk about Crawford. Crawford versus Canelo, I think, would be huge because Mayweather left a blueprint of scared of losing his O, right? Mm-hmm. See, if Crawford fights Canelo right now, he's showing the younger fighters, hey, I'm not afraid to lose my O. And it's going to be a trend. They're going to follow him, right? So I think it would be a great idea that he actually fought Canelo instead of just, like, not inviting him. Well, yeah.
That's an excellent point.
That's what I think. Like, the blueprint. Excuse me?
That's an excellent point. Keep going.
Yeah, I just feel like the blueprint will change. You know how Mayweather let that scared to lose their own blueprint? I think with Crawford fighting Canelo, even though he loses, the blueprint will change like that automatically, like that instantly.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Look, Crawford has nothing to lose going into this fight. We know that Canelo struggles with speed because he's a natural counterpuncher, and so when you force him to come to you, he's not comfortable with that. I mean, he's more comfortable than he was, say, 10 years ago when he was fighting Austin Trout and Mayweather, but that's still not his style, and Crawford is faster. So you never know. But again, Crawford has nothing to lose going to the fight. If he loses the fight to Canelo, all right, you lost to a bigger man. You dared to be great, didn't work out. And then on top of that, you got a nice little payday. So what's wrong with that? Yeah, exactly. He needs to put that example to the young kids and say, look, you lose your O, who cares? You come back, you rebound if you're really that good.
Yeah. And then he's going to gain a lot of Mexican fans, so they're going to be like, oh, that guy's a warrior for moving up from way down there to fight Canelo up here. That's warrior mentality. I mean, you're going to win Mexican fans over ASAP.
There you go, man. There you go. Yeah,
I think it's a great idea.
Why not? It would be the listen.
Oh, yeah.
I've said it before, caller. There's nothing else for Crawford to do if he wants to make money. The Duran in his fight would sell peanuts.
Right.
Same thing. Tim Tszyu, if it happens, maybe does well in Omaha or in Australia, but Crawford doesn't want to go to Australia. And then on pay-per-view, it wouldn't do well. So you're absolutely right. The big money fight, the dare to be great fight, is a Canelo fight. Should it happen? I don't know. I think I'd rather see Canelo in there against Benavidez. But it is what it is. For Crawford, there's not that much else at 147, 154. What do you think, caller?
See, I honestly, I just want to see, like, you know how Duran did it in his time, like he moved up in weight classes and did it, accomplished it. He beat Iran Barkley. I just want to see it in my time. I want to see somebody do that too. Like, I just want to see a Duran moment in my time. You get me?
I get you, man. Yeah, you want to see greatness. I'm right there with you, man. I want to see people take risks. And if he loses, like I said before, if Crawford loses, let's say he gets his ass knocked out the way Khan did. All right, so what? You're a fighter. You're supposed to take risks. That's the name of the game. Those are the hazards of the workplace. You might get your ass knocked out. Boo-hoo. You want a cookie? You want a Band-Aid for that? Just dust yourself off and walk it off. That's what I always say. Anyway, listen, boxing. Right. Well, listen, we got to move on here, man. Anything else you want to say before
That's what you signed up for. Nah, I just want to say hit the like button, subscribe, and BDA. Great boxing channel, man. All right, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the calling. All right, man. Hello.
Yeah, you know what? Somebody on What Rep It, shout out to What Rep It. I forget who he was, so excuse me for forgetting the name. But somebody said that perhaps one of the reasons why Crawford, because remember when we did the show the week after the Crawford-Spence fight, and I was suggesting, and other people got on board with that here, where that Crawford really doesn't have anywhere else to go if he wants to make major money. The major money would be a Canelo fight. And some people left comments in that podcast. Oh, that's crazy. That's stupid. It doesn't need to happen. And I'm saying, of course, it doesn't need to happen. But if Crawford wants to get that major payday, that's really the only fight. Both guys are red hot right now, especially Crawford after the Spence beating. So make it happen. Some people were saying no. Well, then what happens? A week later, Crawford all of a sudden, when he was saying, oh, I wouldn't go above 155 or whatever, now all of a sudden, yeah, I'll fight him at 168. And he said it twice. He said it on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he said it on the 3 Knockdown Rule, starring Steve Kim and Mario Lopez. Now all of a sudden, some people over at What Rep It, somebody said, perhaps the reason why he's saying that now is either he realized that, yeah, that's the biggest payday he's going to get, or B, after the Spence fight, everyone was talking about Crawford. I even think the analytics in Google were showing that he was being searched for a lot. But then what happens? Life goes on. People start moving on to other things, and Crawford probably realized that. So now, what does he have to do to get his name, to keep his name in there? I'm gonna go after Canelo. And one thing that Rapid was talking about last night was, in certain articles now, they're trying to make it out as if Canelo's the one that doesn't want that fight. And I'm thinking, they're trying to give Crawford a bit of an out here for if the fight doesn't happen, they're gonna blame Canelo. And the only reason that I can come up with of why they would do that is because, I don't know, maybe an American thing. Because think about it. In the last 10, 15 years, who have we had? We had Usyk, we've had Inoue, Lomachenko, Golovkin, Canelo. Those are the guys that were really dominating and scintillating the crowds. Andre Ward, he was being too dirty and boring, so people didn't really pay attention to him. Crawford, for a long stretches of time there, didn't get the Spence fight, so he was fighting subpar opposition, wasn't really wowing people. So I think this is the part of the media trying to get themselves an American fighter that really was a diamond in the midst, but got lost through all the BS. But there he is. We got a diamond. We got an American. So that's the only thing that I can come up with. I don't think that's exactly what it is. Maybe it's something else, but that's the only thing that I can come up with of why they would try to blame Canelo for that. But
yeah, and how you know it's bullshit? Because how Canelo said about Crawford, okay, he's a 47-pounder. I'm fighting at 68. If I go down to face him, I wouldn't get the credit. It was kind of the same thing that Crawford said about Tank. So you really can't. If you go fishing, the same thing Canelo said about Crawford said about Tank.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And that's the other thing, though. Tank Davis, by the way, people kept comparing Keith Thurman's performance against Barrios to Tank's performance and saying, oh, you see, Tank stopped him. Thurman, a bigger guy, couldn't do it. Then it came out that Barrios said that he had a rehydration clause. against Tank Davis, meaning he wasn't the best Barrios in there. So that's Tank Davis smokes and mirrors show. The same thing he did to Ryan Garcia. And the reason why I bring Barrios up is because Barrios is going to be fighting Yordenis Ugas on the Charlo-Canelo undercard, which some people are trying to make it out as, wow, what a great fight. First of all, they're fighting for a vacant title, I believe. They're both coming off losses. They're both coming off the last time they fought, which they lost. No, excuse me, Barrios. When was the last time Barrios fought? Didn't he? I think he had a win, right? After the Thurman shellacking. Let me check it out.
I believe. I believe.
Who was it against?
Can't recall the opponent.
Yeah, it was some. Okay, let's see. Because I know for a fact Ugas hasn't fought, and he's been inactive longer than Spence because they fought at the same time. Yeah, he fought Giovanni Santiago this February. Okay, so he got a win against a relative nobody. All of a sudden, that puts him in line for a vacant title. Now, I hope people now start realizing why we don't pay attention too much to the alphabet straps here over at BD Boxing. And Ugas, again, he's been inactive, hasn't fought since April 2022. Now, all of a sudden, he's in line for a title shot against Barrios. I'm sorry, fellas, this fight doesn't really excite me. The one that does excite me on that one is Jesus El Mono Ramos taking on Erickson Lubin. But Barrios, I mean, that's what happens with guys like Barrios over at the PBC. They just pass him around. It's like, hey, you set him up for... Because I'm pretty sure the PBC wants Ugas to win. That way it makes the Spence fight look better. Or maybe I'm overthinking things. I don't know. But that's how they got me thinking now with all this narrative talk. But what else is going to bring up here, fellas? We were talking about the Canelo fight, Canelo Crawford. Yeah, that's big money. It might happen. Crawford now seems all of a sudden interested in it. But I will say this, though. Bucho made a short video about De La Hoya Trinidad. Because he said people forget how good De La Hoya was. And it's true. For me, it seems like 1999 was a year ago. It's been fucking 20-something years. People forget how good De La Hoya was and how he fought everybody. Now, yes, there's a couple of asterisks next to some of his wins. Back in the day, I was a De La Hoya critic. I didn't like some of the moves he made. But, geez Louise, in hindsight, compared to some of the guys fighting today, he was a fucking monster. And just to put things in perspective, when he fought Trinidad in 1999, that very year, he'd fought Corte, the undefeated Corte. He'd fought Obakar, and then Felix Trinidad. Now, to put it into perspective, if we want to compare it in modern times, that's as if Crawford would have fought a peak undefeated Keith Thurman in the beginning of 2023, then fought Sean Porter, because that's what Obakar kind of was, like a Sean Porter type of guy, like who always sort of came up short when he fought the best guys out there. And then Errol Spence at the end of the year. And a peak Errol Spence at that, not a fucking post-fight car accident Spence. That's what De La Hoya did in that year. Now, he came up short against Trinidad, but the point is, guys, that sort of makes me... I mean, I don't know. Like I said before, and I said this before the Spence-Crawford fight, so don't come at me with the Johnny-come-lately thing. This was a 35-year-old Crawford against 33-year-old Spence. And they try to build that as the fight of the century, the fight of the year, blah, blah, blah. Let's face the fact, it was past its peak, and I don't want to see that happen with other fights. For example, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney. Or shit, even Haney versus Prograis. Apparently now Haney, according to the last reports, has yet to sign his part of the contract. And I think the reason why is, and I think he said it himself on Twitter, correct me if I'm wrong, he doesn't want to go up directly against Fury versus Ngannou. He's worried about that now. It's like, fuck you, you're supposed to be fighting, you get paid, you're supposed to worry about your pay and your win. And putting on a good show for the people. Now all of a sudden he doesn't want to do it that same date and he wants to postpone it, blah, blah, blah. Guys, I'm getting sick and tired of this guys stalling fights, man.
It's always the Americans.
Well, yeah. I mean, majority-wise, yeah. I don't want to harp on too much on that, but...
Oscar De La Hoya was fucking fabulous, too. Obviously, I remember his career. He was fabulous. He was an unbelievable boxer. And today, just today, he tweeted out that his girlfriend, all rest league is kicking off. It's an all sports league where the girls are topless. He called her his baby girl, I guess, whatever is involved, or owns the league.
Fuck. All right.
So he hasn't changed much.
Yeah, I mean that's what Canelo said in the recent interview. Hey, let me ask you this, guys: How well do you remember?
Oh, sorry, BDA.
How well do you remember? How well do you remember the build up to the Trinidad De La Hoya fight? I'm having a hard time hearing you guys. Both you, Jimmy and Gonzalo, you guys are you guys are. I'm having a hard time hearing you. You sound muffled. I'm gonna try it again. How well do you remember that fight? The build up to that fight. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hang up and call back.
Yeah, I recall.
Okay, because I think I wanna do a bit of a retrospective about that fight, because that. I mean, I hate to go back in the past and compare it to the present, but I can't get past the fact that what was being built as the fight of the century, the fight of the year, Crawford-Spence, it was past its due date. Meanwhile, De La Hoya, Trinidad, they were both 26 years of age, undefeated. They had fought everybody, beat everybody. I think the only guy left was James Page. He had a WBA strap, I think. So I want to do a little bit of a retrospective on that. Not on the air, by the way. I'm an actual fucking video. So I'll talk to you guys off the air about that. I want to quiz you and see how well you remember that those days. What else was I going to talk about?
Yeah. Can I mention something, PDA?
Absolutely.
It's like Jimmy mentions the ring rust, and like you were saying about the inactivity, how these guys, like for example, Usyk and everything that you mentioned about Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, past his due date. Yeah, it's true. And, sometimes people say, well, Canelo, I'm going to tie this in how Canelo is like, he's old because he's been fighting ever since he was 15. But sometimes when you stay active, it's better than having the ring rust, because you don't necessarily get old overnight, like, because you're keeping it like to where you're continuously training. If you stop training, all of a sudden they say about that when people get sick. When people get sick, it's like all of a sudden, like if they, or like old people, when they stop being active in their lives, that's when they get sick. If they don't pick up the broom, if they stop doing the chores, they gotta stay busy to feel alive. Therefore, they don't get sick. Once they start taking the breaks and stuff like that, that's when the sickness creeps in, the ailments. But I have to say this about Canelo. Mayweather and Sean Porter have been going in on him. How Canelo's past his prime, and Mayweather, he's also stated that, he's had a long career. But, who in boxing doesn't start young? All these motherfuckers start young. But you got to think Canelo, he loves boxing. So if he's staying limber, he's staying active in the gym, he's going to stay sharp. He's going to stay sharp. And I just want to mention that, because also everything else that I said, because this guy loves boxing. So I'm thinking he's still in his prime.
Well, listen, it's like that Van Halen song, man, right now. One step ahead, one step behind. Now you got to run to get even. And that's the power, unfortunately, of layoffs. You don't want to, fighters, like most things in life, fighting is the same thing. It's like sharks. You got to keep moving. You stop, you become stagnant. All of a sudden, things start to get rusty. That's just a reality. I want to give a shout out to Warp Speed for reestablishing his membership program. Shout out to Warped Speed. I think he'd left a message, but I don't see it here. And shout out to Virtuoso for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, it's nice to know that the WPBC is environmentally conscious because Mario Barrios is a recycled can. There you go. I mean, that's how they do with Barrios. I mean, hey, good for him. They're keeping him active. He's being relatively active for a PBC fighter. Usually the PBC plan is one fight a year. He's already fought this year, and now he's going to get another one. So good for him. He's lucky in that regard. I wanted to bring something up in terms of... Yes.
One last thing I forgot. Terence Crawford, I do believe that he's still in his prime, although he's 36. But he's also been fighting ever since he was a young kid, right? And if there's an activity, kind of like you said, it's damned if you do, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because also, like, look at Canelo. Just one last thing. When he fought Erislandy Lara and Austin Trout, I think back in 2011, he didn't get the knockout when he became champion at 154. That was a prime Canelo. So was he old then? Obviously not. That was the beginning of his fucking actual like prime. And then like later he fought Miguel Cotto. He didn't knock him. Or was he old then? No, because after that he went on to knock out bigger men, like all the dudes that he fought at 68. So you can go by, but the actual like last fight when he said that he was injured, that because he didn't get the knockouts, that he's like old. But I just mentioned, I'm kind of bringing Canelo down to bring him up in a sense that people take it out of like context.
You're right, man. You're right. He's going to be 36 this year, I think. Or he's already 36. I forget. But the age, you cannot overlook that. I wanted to mention something else here. Moving on a little bit. Just in terms of news, apparently Zurdo Ramirez, he missed weight for the last bout that was essentially canceled because of him. Now he's coming up to cruiserweight along with Joe Smith Jr. Apparently it's going to be on October the 7th on the Zone. Fellas, if Ramirez can make weight, I mean, he should, the fucking cruiserweight. Holy smokes, this is an interesting
I believe
fight.
it's in a catchweight, BD. I think it's at 193.
All right, but still, I mean, it's he should have an easier time making that than 175. What do you guys think about this fight?
Oh, man. I mean, Zoro's got a pretty good chin. The guy that works for the union, what's his name? Joe Smith Jr., he's a power puncher. It's pretty even. That did even fight to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look. Zurdo seems like a bit of a dummy. Yeah, he's not a guy that thinks too much in there. He added some wrinkles to his game, but not nearly enough to even come close to beating a guy like Bivol. And even then, he was trolling with guys like what's his name again? Not Jared Hurd. I forget the guy's name. The American guy. Yeah, but he couldn't even really beat him. Yeah, so he's a limited fighter. Jesse Hart. Yeah, Jesse Hart. That was a guy. But you know what? Joe Smith is kind of like the American version of Zurdo. He's very limited, big, can hit hard, but he comes up short too. So, man, this is going to be an interesting one, man. This is going to be an interesting one for sure. I don't know who to pick in this one. I really don't, because Zurdo is hittable, but he's right there for the right hand. But then again, Zurdo has, I think, a bit of a more varied attack with the right hook, and he can go to the body. He's got the left hook, left uppercut to the body as well. So I'm interested in that one, man, for sure. What else?
Yeah, I recall Usyk Gonzalez hitting Zurdo Ramirez with the hard-ass headbutt. As he was coming under and around, he clipped him with the head right on the chin, and he didn't even buckle, Zurdo. So now at a bigger weight, they're going to be a little bit slower. They're going to see the punches coming. And although Joe Smith Jr. hit harder than Zurdo, I think Zurdo has a tough chin, like a mule. So I think he can take the punch.
Absolutely. Hey, I wanted to bring something up too. There's Subriel Matías is going to be fighting a guy by the name of what's his name again? Hold on, let me check it out. Good luck trying to spell the first name, but or pronounce the last name. Ergashev. He's a guy from Uzbekistan. He's already 31, but he's undefeated. He's long, 5'10" and a half inches. 5'10" and a half inches in height. He's very long. He's a southpaw, and he's going to be taking on. They went to a purse bait, so he's going to be fighting Subriel Matías next. They haven't established a date yet. Now, I was thinking about this. I'm thinking, well, Matías beat Jambalaya. I don't know what his last name was either, but a southpaw who hit hard. But that was a stocky southpaw who ran out of things to do against Matías' pressure. This guy Ergashev, longer. He seems to control distance better than Jambalaya. This is going to be an interesting one. So I'm looking forward to that one. Make sure to stay tuned for Matías Ergashev later on this year. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys heard.
Rocky Hernandez BDA versus Oshaki Foster.
Oh yeah, that's another one, right? That's going to be on the come up. I want to do a show on. People have been asking for this type of show. For years now, fixed fights, because my definition of a fixed fight is not, some people have come up with their own definitions. So a fixed fight means that if you put on a rehydration clause, you're fixing the fight to the other guy's favor. But that, to me, fixed always meant that the result was already fixed, meaning it was already set in stone. Hey, this guy's gonna take a dive, and I've always said I'm open to the possibility that. Well, not just even open. I know for a fact certain fights are rigged and people get told to take dives, especially when the younger guys are coming up. Some of these tomato cans get told to take dives. At the highest level, though, they seem to conceal that better so that you have to come up with more than just, well, I think this guy fought erratically, differently than he usually does. Therefore, the fight was a fix, and I can say that with the utmost of confidence. We need more proof. But then the point is, what type of, and I fully understand this, what type of proof do you want, or what type of evidence do you think is going to be out there? For example, let's say you get, I don't know, Prograis versus Haney. Let's say it's fixed, and Prograis gets told to take a dive. I don't think they're going to tell Devin Haney, they're not going to let him in on the secret. They're going to let him think that he won the fight on legitimately, because the less people know, the better. So all of this to say, I was on one of the chants, and somebody is making videos and starting the conversation or restarting the conversation, because apparently it's been around for years, about whether the NFL has script writers. And now this is interesting because this all stems from a video that somebody was going around on YouTube, reporter, I think, or whatever, asking players, what do you want in next year's script? And people were saying, well, I want more 100-yard dashes. I don't know, fucking NFL terminology that I'm unaware of. And so some people were saying, see, there you go. That's the proof that NFL is scripted, just like WWE. It's all scripted. It's all a show. And they're telling you right to your face, and it's taking place right under your noses. I don't know, man. I was asking Recognize, and who else was on that show? Somebody else was on the show, and they were breaking it down for me, because I don't know shit about the NFL. So, and then there's other people making videos. So it's interesting. If you guys have a time to look into that, if you haven't done so already, the NFL, look into whether it's scripted. And then Timothy Figueroa let me know that years ago, somebody took the NFL to court because they felt that one of the games, I think one of the Super Bowl games, had been rigged. And it came out in court that the NFL, their designation, classification, whatever you want to call it, when they have to classify themselves as a business or whatever, it said that the NFL is not entertainment, it's sports entertainment, just like the WWE, meaning, yeah, it's sports, but the entertainment aspect of it suggests that it's rigged, it's scripted. So I don't know, man. That's how would this apply to boxing? I've definitely seen a lot of fights that I go, okay, this guy took a dive, but I can't prove it. You know what I mean? It's like all I have is what I saw, and that's not enough to prove that a guy took a dive sometimes. So I'm curious to hear what people have to say about that in the chat. And again, I think that's more of a, if we can keep it to boxing, I have to find more examples of that, but it could definitely be done on the second Renaissance. But again, I don't know about NFL, so I would need people to jump in on that one. But, Gonzalo, are you an NFL guy, or you're mostly boxing and soccer?
No, not really. I used to watch the playoffs and the Super Bowl when I was in the military, because right around that time, I believe it was like, let me see, Thanksgiving. So we would always go to the houses of other soldiers and, the married ones, and we just congregate there. All right. I got you. Yeah, man, it's an interesting subject right there. What else was I going to talk about? I think that's pretty much it in terms of boxing. I mean, Prograis, Haney, they're talking and talking and talking. They're not making anything. Shakur Stevenson is crying on Twitter that nobody wants to fight him. I mean, I guess he wanted to get paid more against Haney and that. But even then, I don't know if Haney would have taken that fight, because Haney has a history now of just extending fights and stalling. Yeah, man. We're entering a bit of a. What's next in the schedule here? We've got Puncher's Chance. The thing I don't like about. What's that? Oh no, I think I got a delay, BD. Yeah, I think there was a delay, but go ahead. No, I'm saying he's got a puncher's chance. The only thing I don't like about Prograis is kind of find out, I didn't know that he was a late starter. So now it kind of makes sense when he's switching back from back and forth between styles. Sometimes he want to box you, sometimes he want to put the pressure. And you got to think, right, BDA, like even when you're a pressure fighter, it takes time to break an opponent down. And even for a pressure fighter, that takes time. So that's a challenge in itself. But when you're not dedicating your full boxing game to breaking that fighter down, and now you're jumping from this style to the other, it even becomes harder, right? Mm-hmm. We got to think Julio Cesar Chavez, he's going to start going in there from the beginning, until he breaks you down. No, but Prograis, he's going there to break you down, and all of a sudden he wants to be a sweepy. That's where I think he lost the plot against Josh Taylor. And we seen shades of that in these other fights. If he wants to go in there and start boxing a boxer, he's going to get outboxed. If he wants to start deviating from putting the pressure and actually looking for them body shots to catch you with a good body shot, switching back and forth, no, it's not going to work out for him. He's got to define his style. That's the problem with Prograis, in my opinion.
You know what? You bring up an excellent point. That's why I'm very. If the fight happens, and if it doesn't, and there's enough evidence, I'm going to blame Haney for this because he's got a history of this. But I'm very interested in this fight, man, because Prograis, we never saw that many flaws in him early on. I mean, he pretty much dominated Flanagan, although he did get hit a lot because of his low hands in that one. Then I think that was the fight after when he stopped Relic, which people forget, but he was a tough little fighter himself, man. Very active, very a lot of heart, a lot of activity. Prograis stopped him. Then Prograis went neck to neck against Josh Taylor. And then he sort of fell off the radar for a little bit. But even when he fought subpar guys like McKenna, he just wiped the floor with him. And then what he did to Cepeda, which no one else had ever done. So that's why it was shocking to see him look that bad against Zorrilla. And Gonzalo brings up an excellent point is Prograis is a late starter. He relies a lot on those physical gifts of his. And because he's got a good boxing brain, he's been able to mix that unorthodox style of his to make it work. But what as often happens with unorthodox fighters, especially ones that get started late, if you get a guy that knows how to do something really well, even if it's just basic, but if they know how to do it really well, that's going to throw them off for a loop. And that's what happened with Zorrilla. But I will say this, Gonzalo, Haney doesn't have that type of footwork. Remember, that's what we were talking about before the Lomachenko fight, is that a guy like Jermaine Ortiz gave Lomachenko more problems because he had those quick feet. Haney sort of drags his feet because he's looking to counter people with that straight right and then work off the jab before or afterward. So do you think he could actually give Prograis that type of problems even if he doesn't move, or?
No, I'm just thinking he's a better boxer with a better jab than Prograis. And if Prograis tries to get too cute, this is the thing that I see, the problem that I see with Prograis. He's trying to convince himself that he's improving as a boxer since he started late. He's got that chip on his shoulder. I mean, he does have a good boxing brain, like you said. But is he going to be able to rival that of a fighter that started when he was a young kid, 6 or 7? So the thing is, one thing we do know about Prograis, he can punch. So don't try to get too cute and out-slick a slickster, but actually stick to a game plan. I'm not saying that you cannot change your game plan, but stick to a style so you can be more effective. If you're going to press. Don't go from pressing one round to switching it up to try to be a cutie in there, like moving the waist. No, if you press, you're physically gifted and you punch hard. So just stick to that. Obviously, if it ain't working now for you, like you can change that up. But what I'm saying, don't do it because you feel like it. Because I think that's where he lost the plot against Josh Taylor. Yeah, that's basically it, BD.
Yeah, that's
the way I see it.
Yeah, you're right, man. It's a very intriguing fight, and you're right. Prograis has to get, but even that, I don't know if he can do that. I don't know if he can go there. I mean, the fact that he couldn't cut the ring off against Zorrilla and pin him is concerning going into the Devin Haney fight. Then again, like I said, Haney doesn't move like Zorrilla, so maybe that could benefit Prograis a little bit. But I don't know, man. Hey, by the way,
I think Never Sober was saying, or somebody was saying in BDA, that Zorrilla likes to kick his ass out, and I saw that he was kind of stiff at the legs. So, but the thing about Zorrilla, I think he had like 17 wins with 14 knockouts. So in my opinion, the reason that Prograis was kind of like respectful of Zorrilla, not so much because of the boxing skills, because of the power. And I don't think Haney got that power, obviously.
Yeah,
but Zorrilla did by his knockout percentage.
And people could say, well, how can he respect Zorrilla's power but not Josh Taylor's? That's because Josh Taylor and Prograis came to an agreement. They said, let's meet in the second. It's a tacit agreement during the fight, but they said, you know what, screw this. Let's start banging it out in the middle, because neither one was going to outbox the other from the outside. They're not that type of fighter. So that's what happened. But Zorrilla stuck to his game plan of moving and countering Prograis, and I think Gonzalo's right, because Prograis did seem very concerned about that. And you look at Cepeda's a different fighter, man. Cepeda's got a little bit of a wider stance than Zorrilla. He doesn't move as much. He's looking for that counter left. And Prograis just took that left away. There was no jab coming from Cepeda, and so boom, that's all she wrote. But Zorrilla was a different fighter. So we'll see what happens between Haney and Prograis and that's a big if the bout occurs. Well, that's all really we got here for today. Again, it's slim pickings this Saturday a little bit. I mean, it's some good heavyweight fights. Don't get me wrong, but nothing that really makes you go, whoa. Next, not this Saturday, September the 2nd, we get Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank Jr., the rematch. Eubank now is sort of saying that, well, he knocked me out with an elbow, but no excuses. So he comes up with the excuse, but then he tries to say no excuses. A week after, from ESPN Plus via Corpus Christi, Texas, we got Luis Alberto El Venado Lopez taking on Joed Gonzalez. Woo-wee. That's fireworks right there, man. Fireworks right there. You also got Xander Zayas fighting on the undercard, and one of Fernando Vargas' sons is in there as well. That very same day, you got the zone card. Oh, excuse me, this is a Friday. September the 15th, that's a Friday. So then the next day, Cepeda is taking on Medcito Gesta from the Philippines, who just upset Jojo Diaz. That's another interesting fight right there. Then on September the 23rd, Zhilei Zhang, the rematch against Joey Joyce. That same day, you got Richardson Hitchens versus Jose Cepeda. And then the next week, Canelo versus Charlo. That same day, Joe Cordina is fighting from Wales. That's the second time he's fighting on the same day as a big fight. Thankfully, it's in the UK, so that's going to precede the American fight. Then after that, October the 7th, Lee Wood taking on Josh Warrington. An all-out rumble there from the UK. Should be interesting. Janibek, by the way, this is interesting. The other news, I forgot to talk about this. He's going to be taking on Vincenzo Gualtieri. Those of you that are unaware of, Gualtieri is the one who upset the undefeated Falcao in his last fight. I think he dropped him about, 2 times or 3 times? Something like that. So that's an interesting fight right there for Janibek, who has to redeem himself after he looked a little shaky in his last fight. So yeah, man, we got some interesting boxing fights. Nothing major other than Canelo Charlo, but we might have Joshua Wilder coming up. Hopefully that happens this year. So we'll see what happens. Guys, anything else you want to say before we move on?
I just wanted
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay, I was going to say real quick, man, make sure you guys check out the documentary on Charlo and Canelo. Mr. B.A. Unbelievable job. Another great documentary. Lays out the facts. So make sure you check out that. And the shorts that Bucho's doing. These guys are putting out some good content. So I just wanted to say that. And thanks for listening, man. Hit the like on the way out. Peace.
Absolutely. There you go. Great advertisement right there from Jimmy. What else? I don't know if Gonzalo was going to say something. He unmuted himself. By the way, Gonzalo,
I was just going to say...
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that, BD?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a delay here, so...
No, I was going to say, in regards to Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, I think that fight's not happening anymore for that mandatory position.
Uh-huh.
Nobody want to do business with Andy Ruiz. I don't know what the deal is. He's not with the PBC no longer. He used to be with Top Rank, but he that relationship died a long time ago. So I mean, he's kind of like shooting himself in the foot with all these people, with all these entities. Man, that kind of sucks for Andy.
It was the sanctioning bodies who kind of screwed him there too, Gonzalo. The WBC pulled the mandate. Remember they were mandating that fight? Well, calling it if they had to make the fight to see who's going to be there in line to get the WBC, and they pulled it for whatever reason, which I think is this. They didn't want to risk Wilder against somebody who had the chance of knocking him out. So, of course, they're going to try to say Ruiz was asking for too much money, which I guess he priced himself out before, but with somebody else, he definitely pulled it. And I think that was Shelly Finkel and them knowing that would have been too risky of a fight as a warm-up for potential big money fight.
Interesting to know. Hey, by the way, just as we're about to leave, we got people calling in here. Let's go to a phone call. He's got 240. 240, you're on the air. 240, what's on your mind?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, man. What's up?
Oh. Yeah, I was just going back to Jimmy's point about Tyson Fury and Usyk. And all I wanted to say is, yes, Fury did duck Usyk, but that doesn't conclude into the fact. We can't just assume that when they do meet, eventually that Usyk's going to win. I feel like because people forget that Usyk is older than Fury, and what Fury is doing what he always does, is age people and catch him at the right moments for him. And the Ngannou fight, I mean, It's just another payday for him, and they still may make that fight happen. And once again, I don't think because he docked Usyk, it's a full-on conclusion that when they meet, Usyk wins. That's all I had to say.
I agree. That's why they call it boxing, because it's a big fight and both guys have a chance to win. But I don't know. The Fury's the way he's been acting is indicative of a guy that doesn't want like you said, he doesn't want the fight now, which is concerning. It's why wouldn't you want to make the fight now? Well, what are you afraid of?
I mean, the fans want it now. The fans want it now. But for him, I think he realizes what's on the line because he always gave AJ a lot of shit for giving all the belts to the Ukrainian, and and for Fury to lose the last belt, I feel like it's a pride thing. And yes, he's depriving us of that fight, but still, that does not mean that if they meet today and they fight today, Usyk definitely wins.
Jimmy, you want to weigh in on that, or?
What was that?
Yeah, the only thing I got to say when you talk about Fury, I'd say his brother John. I mean, his dad John. There, he's right up there with Tio's father for knuckleheads.
Oh, come on.
He just says some stupid shit, man.
Did you see Jimmy? Did you see the whole Logan Paul versus what's his name? I forget the guy's name, and then that same card KSI versus Tommy Fury. Did you see that? What happened there with Fury's father?
Was he like punching? Was he throwing stuff off the table? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, he was flipping tables over. He almost started a riot. Looked a little fake, though. I gotta say, it looked a little fake. But it was just funny the way he lost his shit.
I thought that was fake.
I was waiting for him to jump off the turnbuckle.
I just wanted to say, I still think Fury beats Usyk, even though it's true, 100% true that he did dock Usyk.
All right. Well, we'll
you guys
see
got a good one.
All right, you too, man. If the fight ever happens, we'll see, man. All right, take it easy out there. We got another phone call here. Let's go to 416. 416, you're on the air. 416, what's on your mind?
What's up, B? Jamie Gonzalo. Yeah, I apologize about my voice. I'm just fighting a summer cold.
Oh.
Anyhow, Usyk, fucking Dubois. Usyk's gonna fucking, he's gonna do a traditional Ukrainian dance around and on top of fucking Dubois' head. And I agreed with possibly you, BDA, in regards to calling it a stoppage. I can see there be a TKO stoppage in the latter rounds. Yeah, I don't have nothing on Usyk. Further to that clown fucking Devin Haney, there's levels to boxing and there's levels to ducking. So he knows that him ducking Shakur because Shakur has he has skill set above fucking Haney, and he'll tap him up. So he'll duck him, give him as Bob Arum said, it was a total shit fucking offer, if not a fugazi offer, as my Italian brothers call it. Second to that, I think they're doing a Lomachenko Kambosos fight. So Kambosos is already ducking Shakur as well after that rape of a bout with Maxie Hughes. So you can see Shakur stepping up to him and saying, let's make this happen. Kambosos is, diner pop, saying, oh, yeah, why don't you take the fucking shit with Haney? It was a fucking fake fucking offer, so how can you take the offer?
Well, I just want to say that Bob Arum recently Bob Arum came out. He said that the whole Kambosos-Lomachenko fight is not true. That's a false statement that's been circulating. Or that's a rumor that's been circulating online, and he says that there's no truth to it. I think that's what he said.
Oh, so it's not happening. Is that the case, BDA?
Yeah. That's what he says. Yeah.
Well, it's unfortunate because it would have been good to see Lomachenko kind of expose how he would tool up and tune up fucking Kambosos, this fucking individual that Haney beat, which was a gift to fucking Haney. and show even in double time how to dispose of a mediocre boxer of that in Kambosos.
It would have, but I mean, I think Lomachenko's a little bit of a look. He went in there in the Haney fight. People kept crying about how he was going to get outboxed by the bigger man. Haney was just that much better. Blah blah blah. And even if you give it to Haney, you got to admit it wasn't a good look. Him struggling against a shorter, older guy. So that's why I think maybe that's why Haney's so hesitant to go with the Prograis fight. As for Lomachenko, I don't blame him for not wanting to take any more fights against young Afro-Anglos that are being pushed by the establishment. I mean, look, he has to get a knockout now to win the fight convincingly. Otherwise, they're going to screw him. So I'm not surprised he doesn't want to get screwed over him. I mean, how many times does he want to get bent over and take it up the wazoo? So good for him. Fuck it. You got to play if they screw you around, you got to screw them right back. Play their game. That's what I say. Well, listen, caller, we have to move on because we're almost out of time here. We gotta go, man. We're running out of time.
All right.
Get some tea. Get some get some bioflavonoids in there. Get vitamin C, and hopefully you feel better, right, man?
Well, I'm drinking prescriptions with fucking bourbon right now, man. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. All right, take it easy out there, man. Prescriptions with bourbon. I knew he sounded a little. Thought that was Errol Spence in there for a little while. I said, hey, what's Errol Spence calling in? We're getting an exclusive here. What else was I going to say? Yeah, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. We get our phone call here coming in. Let's go to 979. 979, you're in the air. 979, what's on your mind?
Hello. This is Bruce from Houston. What's up, Ron?
Oh, Bruce, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm a little bit late to the show, Pierce. But, yeah, so this weekend's fights, like heavyweight weekend by the looks of it. Yeah, I think Usyk's gonna dog walk Dubois. Like I don't see how this fight was. I don't understand why this fight was even made. Like I mean, it's a tune-up for Usyk, but I'd much rather have had like Hrgovic or like Big Bang Jang or something like that. Like interesting fight, but this is just clear mismatch. Dubois is like that. He kind of reminds me of, like his mentality is like broken, man. Like Joe Joyce took his soul, and in that last fight against that southpaw guy, like he fucking was getting racked, and the ref had to put in one of them UK stoppages on him to stop Dubois from getting embarrassed. So this guy, he's not at the world level, man. Yeah, Usyk's gonna probably knock him out. You know, probably like the 10th or 11th round, I'd say.
So that's your official prediction. You're going with Usyk stoppage. All right. Interesting choice.
Yeah, and they got another, that Anderson versus I don't even know, that journeyman or whatever. They should have had Anderson fight that 19-0 guy in the co-main. Like, I think Top Rank kind of got mad at him because he said he wanted to retire at, like, 26 or something like that. And everyone kind of looked at him like, what are you talking about? And they kind of winded his shit back like, bro, calm down. You know what I mean? Like, what are you thinking? But hopefully he smokes this guy and, you know, they can put him in against, like, that 19-0 guy, or if Ajagba beats him, put him in against him, or... I don't know, man. Like maybe Hrgovic, someone to like get him in the real spotlight before he fucking retires, whatever the hell he wants to do. But
that's you know, I was thinking about. Yeah, man, but that's an interesting choice right there, man. Usyk stoppage and Jared Anderson. Look, this guy, you called him a journeyman. The guy he's going to be fighting, Rudenko. He's not even, journeymans are actually good. They got some decent wins at least on the record. This guy has nothing on there, man. He's durable, or he's been durable in the past, but he's 39 years of age now. So I expect from Jared Anderson is you gotta look good, at least look good against this guy. Take him out. If he's trolling against Rudenko, I'm gonna be disappointed, to say the least. Well, anyway, listen, we gotta move on here, but yeah.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, listen, thank you for your call. Call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there. We got another phone call. Another a late wave of phone calls here. Let's go to, who else was it here? 832, you're on the air. 832, what's on your mind?
832,
Yo, this is G2 or straight G. Real quick, I just wanted to weigh in my thoughts. I think I got Usyk via. I think he's gonna stop Dubois. Probably in the the last 2 rounds, somewhere between 11 and 12. I think at some point. You know what's funny though? I actually think Daniel Dubois. I think he does have a quote unquote dog. As funny as it sounds, because in his last fight he got dropped 3 times. Yeah, you could say it was a UK stoppage. Fair enough. I mean. But to come back after being dropped 3 times and to hurt your opponent and get him out of there, quote unquote, not anybody could just walk off 3 knockdowns. Errol Spence couldn't do it. Errol Spence couldn't recover, as you saw in the fight against Crawford. There's a lot of. It's heavyweight, right? But I think that's pretty good, honestly. And it's funny. The first time I ever caught and see a show, maybe 3 years ago at this point, it was about Daniel Dubois, and I think the title was "Is he the next great heavyweight?" At that time, I kind of was I wasn't really so bad. I was actually kind of high on Dubois. That was back then, but then then the Joyce fight happened, and oh my damn, he got beat up so bad, and Joe Joyce is a crafty fighter, just like Usyk. And, Usyk is definitely even more craftier than Joyce, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to catch Dubois coming in, and he's going to hurt him. I think he's going to put him down. I think he puts him down at least 2 times, and then at some point they're going to wave the fight off. That's my prediction. I just want to give that real quick.
All right, there you go. We got your prediction right there, Straight G. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
No, that's pretty much. Oh, hey, yo, real quick, actually, y'all know when y'all gonna have another second Renaissance episode?
I'm planning on doing one tomorrow if everything works out.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, but I gotta guess. Sure. I don't know if I'm gonna. I gotta dig up subjects for that one. Because if not, I'm gonna talk about the whole Peru alien thing that happened a couple of weeks ago. I didn't have time to cover that. Yeah, I didn't have time to cover that as it was happening live, but I got some interesting theories about that people have been throwing out there. So if I talk about that, hopefully people can jump in. Yeah, but hopefully people can jump in for that one. Otherwise, it's just me reading off the facts.
All right. You want me to give you any topic ideas or have people in the Renaissance chat give any ideas, or how are you gonna do it?
I mean, yeah, that's what I always tell people. Please post stuff on the Discord. That way I can, you're helping me. Giving me subjects that I can read quickly. Otherwise, it's most of the shit that I talk on Second Renaissance. It's my interest, thing that I'm reading just for the heck of it, and I say, hey, this could be good for the Second Renaissance. But if you guys give me subjects, it's even better because now I'm learning new stuff, and then on top of that, it's fuel for the show. So I've said it before. I say that I repeat it here. Give me videos, give me articles. I want to see what you guys are reading out there, and we can talk about it on the show.
Definitely. All right, BD. That's all I wanted to say. Have a good one, man. Here.
You too, Straight G. Thank you for your call, man. Same to you, man. Take it easy out there.
All right.
Yeah, I was going to say one last thing about that, about the Jared Anderson. One fight that, again, Ajagba's fighting on that card, and you saw not Straight G, the guy before, Anthony, was it, or Sean from Houston? He mentioned Ajagba versus Jared Anderson. Why not make that fight straight off the bat? Because I think Top Rank still has faith in Jared Anderson. They still feel like if they match him up properly, he can rebound off that horrible performance against Charles Martin and actually improve. Another fight that I don't think they want just yet for him is Jonathan Rice. Now, if you recall, Jonathan Rice, he's the guy that already upset 2 heavyweights. He beat Coffey. I forget what his name was. His first name, but he was a Afro-Anglo boxer, hard hitting, and Jonathan Rice just went in there and stopped him. Then in the rematch, it went to the distance, but again, Jonathan Rice ended up emerging with the win. So, and then in the last fight, he beat an Italian heavyweight who I think was undefeated, if I remember correctly. So, interesting fight. But I don't think they're going to do it because Rice does make people look bad. He's got a very good, he's got an innate ability to roll away from right hands. So a lot of these lumbering heavyweights, that's all really they have, most of them. So they go, okay, I want to go. They load up on the 1-2, and then this guy, Rice, just slides off the pivot, makes him miss, frustrates him. And if he's able to, he can take him out or outboxes them. So I don't think anybody wants anything out of any part of Rice right now, even though he's beatable. I mean, people have Ajagba beat him. Mogmadov, or whatever his name is, that giant heavyweight fighting out of Montreal beat him. Actually stopped him. I think he's the only guy who stopped him. So Jonathan Rice, streaky fighter. I would like to see him against Jared Anderson, but I don't think Top Rank wants that fight just quite yet. Very curious to see what their plans are if he beats Rudenko this Saturday, which he should, because again, if he doesn't stop this dude, it ain't good. It ain't good. Hey, Gonzalo, before we go, man, I wanted to ask you, that picture you have, is that a wolf or is that a dog? That's got to be a wolf, right? The snout is too long.
Yeah, it's a wolf.
That's a fucking creepy looking, I mean, not a creepy, but that's a cool looking wolf, man. Black with the almost red eyes. Jeez, that's something out of a horror movie right there. All right. Raphael
Yeah,
says...
it's probably finished, though. I don't think it's like a natural, they red in the eyes or something. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Raphael 32 says, Rice sucks. Why are you always trying to hype him up, BDA? Well, I'm not. I'm hyping him up as he is a journeyman. Somebody else called Rudenko a journeyman. Rudenko's not a journeyman. He's just a stepping stone. Not even that, because a stepping stone denotes the fact that you're actually using that as a spring towards greatness. But he's not even that. And Rice actually he can box. I'm not saying he's a top 5 heavyweight. But he's a test for any. He's a gatekeeper. That's a better term, gatekeeper. Because if you're an undefeated guy and you just don't have the skills or the talent to cut it, he will expose you. So I think he's a good test for young heavyweights out there. But I don't know if they want to match Jared Anderson with that dude just quite yet. So anyway, we got to go. Shout out to everybody that called in, everybody that donated with the super chat. Everybody that tuned in to this show, hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for another Second Renaissance episode coming at you this week. And that's about it, fellas. Like I said, thanks again for joining us. Shout out to the Protectorate General, Larry Liston, Raphael 32, Kenny Winejack, JumpTube, Super Sardonic, the Boxing Prophet above all boxing prophets, Knockout Ned. If I forgot anybody, it's because we got to go. But shout out to you, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Catch you in the next one, fellas. Take it easy. Thanks for watching.
I'm disappointed in everyone. Totally disappointed in everyone. All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in everyone. Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.